Hello, friends and fellow jackets. Welcome back to the Monday Morning Murder Podcast. I am your host, Faye Fire, and we are here to just do a really fun stream, a season 3 prediction stream where we are just going to be guessing and speculating on everything that's going to happen in season 3. So I'm really excited to be here with you guys. My co-host Mandy may be here later. We're having some communication breakdowns because I broke my phone, so it's not helping anything. But um but anyhow, so thank you all for being here. If you're here watching live, we have so much to discuss, and I am just so happy to be back here with you guys. I have just been like mentally in the wilderness. I'm just so ready to get back to the Yellowjackets world and get in the vibe and get season 3 started. I'm just very excited, counting down the days. So, if you are here watching live, drop a hello in the chat. Let me know if you're watching, and thank you for being here. So let's see. So today, let's see. Um, Before we get into all the details, make sure and hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Ring the notification bell so that you are notified when we do our live streams. The Monday Morning Murder Podcast, obviously, we stream on Monday mornings to cover the latest episodes of Yellowjackets. So the first episode of season 3 actually premieres on a Friday, but we've decided we're going to just stick with our normal schedule of doing the Monday stream. So we will have to get through the weekend without our, you know, voices to guide you, but but it may give us a chance. It may give me a chance to work on a video over that weekend if there's something really exciting that's happening on the episode, which I'm sure there's going to be. I'm so excited. One of the biggest things. So if you look on IMDb right now, the season 3 cast for episode 1 is pretty much. It looks like it's the full cast that's listed. The rest of the episodes is kind of a not everyone is listed, not the full cast. So if you go to season 3 episode 1, you'll find there we have Hilary Swank, we have Joel McHale listed, that they will appear in that first episode. So it's pretty exciting. I am very excited. Now drop in the chat who you think Hilary Swank's character is going to be. I did do a video on this, but let me know what your guys' opinion is. What do you think? Who do you think she's going to play in season 3? Of course, kind of one of the strong theories going around is that she might be adult Melissa, because there is potentially another survivor that we haven't seen as of yet, based on the pit girl scene, which showed 8 people sitting around the fire. There were 7 people sitting around the fire and then 1 person serving them. So we know at least 8. I mean, we're guessing that there's at least 8 survivors, but we've only met 7 in the adult timeline. So it's still a little bit up in the air if there's not another survivor out there. Let's see. Wild Marjoram says Melissa or Mari. Melissa seems to be like a strong guest for people. Okay, yes, Wild Marjoram, we will talk about this. So there's a new trailer that's dropped on cable TV. I don't know. Thankfully someone's posted it to Twitter. But yeah, we're going to get into it. Okay. We've got some things to talk about. There is some sort of things going on in the fandom, people talking about stuff. So we'll get into all of that. But let's see. Well, I mean, that's a really good question, Wild Marjoram, and we are going to also get into that. And I did do another video on that just recently. So on if there will be tribes or factions that are kind of splitting up. Okay, so before we get too much further into it, I just want to give a shout out to my patrons and my channel members. Thank you so much for helping support the channel. I really appreciate all of you guys. If you want to help support the channel, definitely check out Patreon, and it's linked in my description stuff. And then if you want to join channel memberships, there's I think like $2 a month. You can do that. You get access to exclusive emojis for the chat, which there are a couple of new emojis that are floating around for season 3 of Yellowjackets. So definitely, if you want to have access to that, check out the channel memberships through YouTube. And I'm also trying to grow my channel over on Rumble. So if you are a person who uses Rumble, definitely look me up over there. Fayfire, I believe that's also linked in the description. And I've started a link tree. So I'm very certain that's in the description. So if you need to go through that to find my links, please do. I appreciate all of you for helping to support the channel. So thank you. And I hope you all had a lovely holiday and a happy new year. And also, let's just take a moment to send out prayers to anyone who might be struggling right now. There's just been so much chaos going on in this world, between fires in California, floods in North Carolina, everything, Hawaii, everything. So if you are a person who is struggling, if you are a fan of the channel, just sending prayers and love your way. And I hope that everything is going okay for you in this world. So thank you guys. Okay. All right. So let me just get into my notes here. Sorry, I'm a little off right now. Mandy was supposed to be here, so I'm feeling a little discombobulated right now. All right. So right now, so it's January 13th. We are 1 month and 1 day shy of the season 3 premiere. Very excited. I have been refreshing all morning the social medias and that kind of thing to see if Yellowjackets will be putting out some new promo material. Just that, because we're getting so close to the premiere, it doesn't look like they're putting anything out this morning, but I will keep checking even as we are on our live stream, because you never know, there might be a new trailer or new photos, new promo stuff. I would imagine it's going to come out today. And this has kind of been a hot topic. So we'll talk about this before we get into the predictions. There's been kind of some talk online in the fandom about the promotion for season 3 versus the promotion for season 2. And it is somewhat noticeable. I mean, I've got to put it out there as a content creator. In season 2, Showtime was really like in contact with us, and they were involving content creators in the promotions and all that kind of stuff. Doesn't seem like they are doing that for season 3, which is fine. No obligations. There was a merger between Showtime and Paramount after season 2, or like during season 2. So it's different people on the team now. And the promotion is not the same as season 2. We'll just say that. I don't want to throw shade, but it's really fun when we all get to be involved, or when content creators get to be involved and that kind of thing. Of course, that's something that we all look forward to. And I think it really helps promote the show and help sort of build camaraderie with everyone. But I don't know if they're planning to do that. Time is ticking to get to do stuff like that. So I don't know if that's going to happen for season 3, unfortunately. But there has been a couple of new trailers like in the past week or so, and they are on cable TV. For those of us who still use cable TV, raise your hand in the audience if you still use cable TV, because I don't. But so you may have seen the trailer. Thankfully, somebody posted it on Twitter. It's very short. These are very short trailers, and they're actually showing older footage as well. So it is what it is. We've had one full trailer for season 3, and we are 1 month out from the premiere. Take what you will from that. But besides that, it's been fun. The trailer was really great. I'm sure you've all seen it at this point. There was even the cussing version, which I definitely preferred. I made a short out of that. And so it looks like the girls are just getting even crazier into their, darker nature. In an interview with Ashley Lyle, she said the cannibalism cat is out of the bag. So it sounds like it's going to get a lot more vicious in season 3. And I've made a couple videos, so we've got a lot to discuss what's going to happen in season 3. So we'll start with what Wild Marjoram asked here. Van and the fire. Okay. I was thinking we could just kind of go through each of the characters and kind of discuss what we want. And then I do have photos from the trailer. I also have promo photos, and I have photos from the teaser trailer that they did. So what I actually kind of want to do a little bit later on is I want to do some cross comparing with what they showed in the teaser, because in the teaser trailer, they kind of interspliced some really brief shots of scenes, and I think there's 6 of them. And some of the shots were shared in the full trailer, but some of them weren't. So I just thought it would be fun to discuss and kind of look through those. So we'll get to that. But yeah, for now, let's go through each of the characters, or the main characters, and kind of discuss what we think is going to happen with them. So there has been a lot of talk with Van and that fire. And then, so there was this new trailer, or, the cable trailer that came out, where it almost looks like the fire kind of like flares up as they're holding what appears to be a candle. Now, I don't know what's up with that. That's really interesting. And it looks almost like they're in a cave situation. So maybe they found Coach Ben's cave or something like that. Why the fire flared up, that's really interesting. So perhaps we're getting more into the supernatural and something. But what's so interesting about Yellowjackets all the time is, hey, AK, is that it toys with the supernatural versus like things that could just naturally occur, or maybe have occurred in the past in that area, or just sort of maybe they're being affected by minerals, or some sort of chemical exposure or runoff or something like that in the water supply. We've talked about all of these ideas in the podcast. There's so many things that could be affecting their mental state, whether it's just trauma and trying to survive out there, versus some chemical effect or something like that, or actual supernatural stuff. The fire thing, I mean, it kind of, that looks a little bit supernatural to me. So maybe we're going to be like identifying the wilderness as more of an entity out there. Lottie referred to it as the god of that place in season 2. So maybe the more that they're, as I lovingly put it, accepting the wilderness into their hearts, the more sort of like interaction they're going to receive. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. But it is interesting that shot with Van, the fire kind of flaring up, and then there's another shot in the full trailer where she has kind of fire in her eyes. I think I have this. Let me pull up that photo. And so it's difficult to know. Now, a lot of in the video I made about the, hang on just one second. Let me pull this photo up for you guys. Present. Okay. No, not that one. There we go. Okay. So I made a video about the cabin fire, and that was in the season 2 finale. So we're going to be picking up with the survivors trying to figure out what to do. They're in a couple of promo shots we've seen, they kind of make some tents and that sort of thing. So, and honestly, and Ashley Lyle has said in an interview that they're thriving out there. So maybe they're, when challenged, and this is kind of something about the Yellowjackets, is when they are challenged, they tend to work together as a team. And going back to the description of the show, is like it says that they like transform from a thriving team to savage clans. So there's like, I think we're going to see a lot more of like that original idea in season 3. And the showrunners have said that we are getting back to more of season 1 vibes with it. So while they're kind of getting through the summer, I think they're going to be far more adapted. They're going to know what they need to do as far as hunting and gathering and collecting berries and that kind of thing while those things are in season, so they have supplies to get themselves through winter. So with Van, so there's this idea. Okay, so the idea is that it was not necessarily Coach Ben who burnt the cabin down. And this is kind of this is the question, because we see these shots in the season 2 finale of Coach Ben. He's kind of stealing supplies from outside the cabin because he's gone to live in his cave, and he steals a box of matches. He steals an axe. He steals some rope and some various things. And this is all happening while Natalie is being crowned as like their queen, their antler queen, or Queen of Hearts, whatever they're referring to her as. And Coach sees this through the window. He does not look happy about it whatsoever. And then the next thing we know, the cabin is on fire, and it appears that everybody's locked inside. Now, this is where the theory comes in. The theory is that it may not have been Coach Ben who lit the fire, but it may have been potentially Taissa in her alter state, because we know when she's in her alter state, she's unaware of what's going on around her. I see people leaving the chat right now because they hate this theory. I found a whole thread of people on X this morning hating on this theory, and I was just laughing super hard. But I think it's actually a decent theory. Like some theories I'm like, no, like what Crystal is imaginary? No, I don't buy that. Dark Taissa burning the cabin down? I don't know. I think that's pretty interesting. The thought hadn't crossed my mind until very recently that was even a possibility of something that could have happened. But in her alter state, and then we also see when the cabin is burning down, they're trying to get out the front door. The front door is barricaded, and there's a second door that's in the little bedroom that's in the cabin. And it looks like Ty and Van had been sleeping in that bedroom after Coach had left. And there's a door to get outside from in there. And Ty is the one that's at the door, and she can't get out. Or she says it's stuck or what have you. So like there's just little things where like Ty could have been responsible. She could have been the one sneaking out the little side door. She could have barricaded them in there. She could have like, maybe that door isn't as stuck as she's making it out to be, or, something like that. The thing is that Van might know this. Van might know that it was Ty in her alter state, and Taissa might not even know, because think about when they ate Jackie in the Bacchanal scene. The next morning, Taissa had no memory of it. She had no idea that had happened at all. So she is not aware of the things she does in her alter state at all. But Van is, and they're like sort of linked. They're like this three-way kind of thing. And so Van is sort of like the eyes for Taissa's alter state or something like that. There's something to it. When those two are together, it brings out like the man with no eyes and that kind of thing. And we even see that in the trailer, like the adults, they're making out, adult Ty and adult Van, and then all of a sudden the man with no eyes is in the background. So there's something to their like connection that is also connected to the wilderness. And so Van, she may have like knowledge or memories, just like when they're mapping out like all the trees. Taissa in her alter state is taking them to the trees, and Van is the one mapping it out. So Van is like, she's like the interpreter for Taissa as a prophet, because I do think that Taissa is somewhat of a prophet. of the man with no eyes, and I'm working on an essay about that. So keep an eye out. I've been working on that essay for so long, for like 2 years, but it's just kind of like coming together. Like, yeah. So, and this also ties into like the Eleusinian mysteries, the Greek stuff that we talked about so much in season 2, where we have like the goddesses, and then they have their sort of like assistants to them. And Van is sort of a intercessor. Like, she is sort of devoted to Lottie, but she's also devoted to Thaisa in their two like strengths in a way. So she's somewhat of like she's a record keeper, she's an interpreter, she is what would they call that? Like the Sibylline books that we've talked about, which are the records of the prophets. So we have like the prophet of Delphi, the Pythia, who is at Apollo's temple in Delphi. And so she inhales the fumes, which, according to mythology, come from the rotting snake body that Apollo had killed, who was trying to kill his mother. So she breathes these fumes, which are probably like, natural like gases from the earth that are toxic. But she breathes in just enough to put her in sort of a psychedelic state where she is offering these prophecy. And then there's these men who sit around, they're sort of priests of Apollo, and they note everything that she's saying. They keep a record of it. And then literally throughout history, there are people who are in charge of keeping track of those records and reviewing those records. And they could be hundreds of years old of these prophecies, but it is their job to review them and to check them and to keep up on them so that they can know, is the prophecy coming true right now? Are we living in the time that was prophesied by, Pythia, like 2000 years ago, or what have you? So this is kind of how I see Van. Like, Van is sort of a record keeper. I mean, think about her shop. She has these old movies and all this old stuff. Like, she's constant, and she's digitizing people's old, like, wedding videos and stuff like that. So like, that's just kind of who she is. And she's sort of working between Lottie and Ty as our sort of prophet figures. So long story short, coming back around, that Van may have that knowledge of Thaisa. If potentially it was Ty who set the fire, Van may be like the only person who knows about that. And that's really interesting because it really looks like we're going to be getting into what I'm calling wilderness justice in season 3. And I'm so excited to talk about this because I have so many thoughts. And I might just be off the deep end because literally I'm speculating. This is a predictions stream. I don't have any concrete knowledge other than my obsession with Yellowjackets. So thanks for being here with me, guys. So yeah. So let me catch up in the chat real quick, and we will we'll do what we're doing, which is just kind of chaos streaming. Yeah, prophetic pythons. Exactly. The snake body beneath Pythia was the serpentine monster python, after whom the in real life species is named. Yes, he is like a massive serpent who Hera basically employed to pursue Apollo and why is her name? His twin sister. Anyways, their mother, Leto, so basically Hera said, you may not give birth on any solid ground. And so she had to like her sister like became a floating island so that Leto could give birth to Apollo. Why is my brain blanking on Apollo's twin sister? Please, for the love of God, I'm so embarrassed right now. Who am I? Someone, please. Artemis, thank you. What was that? I kept wanting to say Athena really bad. Athena's on the mind, though, because we're going to get, like I said, wilderness justice. Athena is here for it. Okay. So thank you for letting me embarrass myself, guys. Okay. All right. So will we see Sammy again? Very good question. I have concerns. She's just left the family behind. Crystal is not real. Well, Crystal is real. No, she is real. I don't know why I said that with such confidence. No, Crystal is real. I can't accept that. I just can't. Although there is something to their names, Crystal, Misty, something's there. Okay. Oh, I'm so glad. This makes so much sense to me. Good. I'm glad. I really am happy when that plays out. Because sometimes I'm like, is this just like my own insanity? Like, am I the only person that's seeing like these weird Greek parallels or, whatever? And thankfully, I have you guys to reinforce my insanity. Okay. Oh, Acts 19:28. Great is Artemis of the Ephesians. Really interesting. We're going to do some biblical. I have a lovely biblical quote for you guys from Romans, actually, that I'm going to share with you once we get into our wilderness justice section. So enjoy it. We've been getting more into the biblical stuff, the biblical Yellowjackets, in contrast with the Greek Yellowjackets. We are taking this to a full scholarly place. So I really hope that Ashley and Bart and Jonathan appreciate it. But they probably think we're crazy. They're like, that's not what I had in mind at all. Okay. Yes, and that is Artemis, our huntress. Exactly. Artemis, Diana. Okay. Often shown with a small Scythian bow and her magical hens. Yes, her deer-like critters with golden horns. Yes, indeed. And she has the sacred bear, which I think is part of the bear that Lottie killed in season 1. I think there's some symbolism with that, and with sort of like Apollo, Lottie being kind of an Apollo figure. And the two of them just constantly kind of like combating with each other. But anyhow, okay. All right. So let's get back to it. My not notes. Okay. So we've got what next character? You guys tell me. Who do you want to talk about next? I'm letting you. I don't know what I'm doing. I feel very lost without Mandy right now. Oh my God, we had planned to do this today, and unfortunately, things have fallen through. But so you guys just tell me who we should talk about next. We're streaming together. You think the bear was Laura Lee's sacrifice? Interesting. I guess she does have her little bear guy, Leonard. Okay, Lottie. Let's move on to Lottie. Okay. Let me pull up a photo. I'm really interested in I'm going to go to the promo photos because I think that's where we find some interesting Lottie stuff. I'm sorry, I'm very unorganized today, you guys. But we have fun, don't we? I'm just happy to be back here streaming with you guys. I really was just so ready to stream, just so ready to just get on here with you guys. Okay. So Lottie. Okay. So we've got Lottie. I don't know what's going to happen with Lottie in the teen timeline. Really, she doesn't make a prominent appearance in the trailer, other than when they're seemingly having some sort of ritual go on. So there was a shot. Actually, let me pull up that shot really quick of the group in this sort of white outfits which, I mean, who knows where they got this. Hold on just one second. I need to go back to that photo. Not that one. So, yeah, where they got these, this is what I said. I said, I think to Wild Marjoram in the comments, I was like, "Oh, they must be skin lamps." Or remember when Shauna says in season 2, "Have you ever peeled the skin from a human corpse or whatever?" You know? I'm like, "Oh, this must be how they made the lamps." So, yeah, I really don't know. Let's see. I'm gonna zoom in. These aren't the greatest, like, they didn't save in very high quality. But, like, where are they getting this massive amount of white fabric like this? Like, what could they possibly where did this come from? Because, like, the plain seats were not white like this, so it's not like they ripped out the upholstery or something like that. But I don't know. I just think it's really interesting wherever they found that. Now, I do think maybe we're gonna get more on um the underground, like the tunnels that Lottie kind of had that vision of in season 1. So potentially there could be something new down there if they get into that. There was a shot of Misty, adult Misty, in a tunnel situation in the trailer. So, and I'm sorry, it's like all over the place. There's just so much. But yeah. So, I mean, we're really kind of speculating, but I don't know where they got all that fabric. It looks like they're doing some kind of ritual. So, this might be like Doom Coming 2.0, which I'm totally here for. You know, I love Doom Coming. That's like my favorite episode. Um, and they're doing this lamp thing. So, it also kind of maybe looks like a memorial in a sense, like the lamps, and they all seem really like tuned in. What I do think is funny is um you can't see it too much, but the look on Travis's face, he's just like, "What?" Like, he just looks so and he's holding a cup. So, are we doing Shroom Brew 2.0? Doom Coming 2.0? Travis is terrified. He's like, "Look, I know how things went the first time around. I almost got sacrificed. Not trying to play with that one again." Should be really interesting, but I would love to see Doom Coming 2.0 because I just love it. Doom Coming is my favorite, like, episode. So, whatever that says about me. Um, Promageddon, yeah, that could be really interesting. Maybe Deerhide, but honestly, like, that would have to be a lot, and it looks really, well treated. So I just don't think they have, like, the materials or the knowledge to know how to treat, and also that would be a lot of deer. That would just be a lot of deer. Like, one of those one of those cloaks would probably be equal to, like, 2 deer. I would say, just based on my personal knowledge of living in Alaska. Um, the white moose, yeah, maybe he floated up and his skin is not sloughing off of being underwater for months, or I can be so gross. I'm sorry, you guys. I just, like, am in Alaska, so I'm like, a disgusting wilderness person. Okay. Let's see. Lottie putting antlers on in Doom Coming is what makes me believe that the antler queen look is hers, or the official term is the shaman look. Yes, shaman wilderness fashion week. Okay. um, yeah, I have seen something, but you know what? I actually think that the airplane seats, I in that shot with Misty when she's putting the nylon crotch over her face, it's definitely like the crotch of the nylons, but she's putting it over her face as like a mask. Um, she looks like she might be wearing the plane seats in that scene because it looks very similar to like the design, because there are some good shots of what the plane seats actually look like, and they're sort of like a tan, more tan than this white material. They're tan and they have like kind of some red embellishments, and it's like that very like uh what am I trying to say? Like very like plasticky kind of leather, like the shiny stuff. So I just don't think that these are it, but it should be. I'm very curious as to what we're going to see. Another well, I don't know. It's like, is it a parachute? Did somebody parachute in there? Because we should not discount the fact that after the plane, well, I mean, I guess we can discount it because like we are obviously having a time jump into season 3, but I don't think we should discount the fact that so much smoke came off of the cabin when at the end of season 2 when the cabin was burning. There was so much smoke coming off of it into the forest. It was at night, so, and they are so far out there that, like, I don't think that anyone would be watching, but I don't know, parachutes? It could be a parachute. Maybe somebody saw it, maybe they tried to come in and they were like, "Actually, we don't wanna leave with you. We're just gonna, like, eat you," or something. I don't know. I'm not discounting, um, Donner Party, like, theory here, because things like that did happen with the Donner Party, if you're familiar with your, like, cannibal studies. Unfortunately, some stuff like this did happen. So, we can kind of also draw some hints and some clues from that kind of information as well. So, yeah, the cabin fever is starting to set up in the north. Yeah, pleather. Yeah, that kinda airplane seat pleather. Very nice. Okay. So Lottie is seemingly guiding this ritual that they're doing. She's obviously leading. In the new trailer that just came out, there's also a shot of this scene happening, and Lottie looks like she's like screaming, not in terror, but sort of like in like ecstasy, or she's like in that ecstatic sort of state, and they're all partying around her and having their ritual, and whatever they're doing. So maybe they found more mushrooms, they're doing a shroom tea situation, maybe they are doing a kind of funerary situation, maybe somebody's died. That's what I'm thinking with the skin lamps. I think there was 5 or 6 of them, so it's like maybe something happened where something we have at a certain point, people are going to start dying. Like, we have to keep that in mind, because only so many of them come back, and unless the big secret that they're concerned about is that like they left people out there, which I just don't see that happening. Because, and I'll tell you why I don't see that happening, because if we end up splitting off into factions or, whatever, I talked about this in the video I just made. It seems very likely that it would be like a Shauna versus Natalie kind of leadership situation. So, but both Shauna and Nat ended up coming back. So, like, if they're having warring factions and let's say they get rescued and only one group of them decides to go and they're like, we hate the other ones, let's leave them out here, screw them. And they decide to leave, like, why would both of the leaders of the factions be rescued? Because, like, if it was Nat's group that they got rescued, and maybe Shauna just so happens to be over there at the time, Shauna's not going to say, yeah, leave the rest of my group behind. There's just kind of these things. I don't know. My guess, their guilt was always coming from that they might have left Coach out there. That just seems the most logical to me, is that Coach becomes like an exile, especially after the fire situation. And they're like, you go live your hermit life in your cave or whatever you're doing. And, we're doing our own thing. That's always been my guess as to where their guilt comes from. That guilt they're carrying is that they left Coach out there. I can't imagine them leaving a whole group of people out there. So if they're not leaving a whole group of people out there, then that means that people are going to start dying, and a lot of them. So so that's what kind of makes me believe this may be a funerary, like a funeral situation. We have the skin lamps. Maybe there was something happened, some accident happened, and a bunch of them ended up dying accidentally. They get killed or they fall off a cliff or like something happens. And this is the funeral for that. Let me know your thoughts. I'm fully spitballing. I'm fully like just making things up as I go. But that's my guess in this scene. Okay. Let's see. So let's go back to that other shot of Lottie. Let me check the chat too. Oh, you think they're going? Well, I think that they want to. So Wild Marjoram says, I think they shoot Ben after putting him on trial. I don't know. Um I I well, okay, we're gonna get into the wilderness justice. Okay, we won't right this second, but we're gonna get there because I'm really excited to talk about it. Okay. Okay. So yeah, this is pretty intense. I'm trying to watch my wording so that YouTube is appeased, but that it's a a blood sport kind of thing. Um, let's see. There we go. A sail from a boat that washes up nearby, but they just have the lake nearby. So I mean, if somebody has a boat out on the lake, then they better be trying to rescue them, right? I don't know. Unless they turn on that guy and they're like, "No, we don't wanna be rescued." They just wanna play on the boat. Who knows? I don't know. Um, okay. Let's see. I don't think that this is a funeral because there's only 12 people, and that was the same amount of people in the 2nd season. In the cabin? Is that what you're meaning? Because it's a very inconsistent number of how many survivors there are at this point. There's the scene in season 1 where they're all gathered. I wanna say it's like season 1, episode 2, or maybe episode 3. They're all I think it's episode 3. They are gathered, they kind of do a funeral for the people who didn't survive the plane crash. And I wanna say there's 19 of them surrounding, like, their little circle, in that scene. I could be wrong on my number, but yeah. But this is where it's kind of one of those things that is inconsistent. We don't know exactly how many people survived because there are kind of background characters that we're not familiar with. Now, there are a couple of new characters who in season 3 who are seemingly background teenage characters that are going to be getting more screen time. It's not 100% confirmed, although I think one of them is pretty confirmed. I think Teen Brit. So we have Teen Brit and Teen Robin, who are played by Silvana Estefanos and Anissa Harris. And they are actually listed in all 10 episodes of season 3 at this time. They're the only characters that are listed for all 10 episodes. Um, they're just named Teen Brit and Teen Robin. So we don't know for sure that they are teen survivors from the 1996 timeline. I'm almost certain that it's Teen Brit in one of the photos. So I think she is, but it's not for sure that they are. There's the potential that they could be like Callie's friends or something like that in the adult timeline. So there's something there to that because we are getting more of Callie's character. She's moved to being listed as a main character in the series for season 3. She's just been a supporting role in past seasons, so she's getting bumped up for this season. So I think we're going to see more of her and her life and her friends, hopefully. Although I haven't seen anything about Alana, but I just feel like if we're kind of moving in this direction of perhaps a generational trauma or just something of that nature, because it really seems like that's been a kind of theme throughout the show between like Shauna and Callie, or with Thaisa and her grandmother, and then with Sammy. There's kind of this generational theme going on of trauma. So if Callie's going to be like kind of emulating her mother, then we should be meeting more of her friends, one would assume. So I could be off on that, but that's just my thoughts on those characters. So, all right. Yes, 12 is a zodiac number. All right. So, but beyond that, now going into adult, let's see. Well, one would think, but they could be trying to throw us off, I kind of think. I could be wrong. I mean, we don't know these characters at all. So, like, they could just be trying to throw us off with that. I don't know. So as far as adult Lottie goes, now at the end of season 2, Lottie kind of has a rough go. She ends up, actually, let me pull up that photo really quick. That might show, actually, you know what? I think I just realized it shows us both of them. So I think this is teen Brit. Oh wait, am I showing on the right? Whoops, this one. Teen Brit. And then this might be teen Robin right here. Again, they're looking a little disheveled at this point because they've been out there for a while. But we're going to be getting to know these characters much more this season. Okay, so let me pull up Lottie. So at the end of season 2, Lottie had a bit of a rough go. Obviously, Nat died, and Lottie basically told, they decided to have her committed. But she tells Van right before, she says, the wilderness is pleased with our sacrifice, with our offering. Well, hopefully the wilderness is pleased. I mean, they offered their queen to him. So, but yeah, so she is potentially going to the mental hospital from what we understand. And there are some people listed on the cast that are like orderlies and nurses and doctors and that kind of thing. So I don't know if they're necessarily specifically associated with Lottie and her stay. But obviously, I saw a note on these photos, and I believe that this shot of Lottie here is from episode 3. So, and this shot is also outside of Shauna's house. That's Shauna's house number, and we've seen the outside of Shauna's house several times. So Lottie is showing up at Shauna's house. Lottie was very interested in Callie in the brief moment and interaction that they had with each other out in the wilderness in the finale of season 2. So Callie basically, the adults decided they were going to do a hunt to appease the wilderness, and they all kind of prepared for it to just be fake. Like Shauna was mentally prepared that this was just going to be a fake thing, like she dulled the knives they were using, and but once the moment arose, they all kind of really got in the zone and were like legit about it and started chasing her. And would they have followed through? I mean, that's a good question of, if they actually got their hands on Shauna. And that, I love that hunt scene, because like the adult hunt versus the like doom coming hunt, where the girls are just, the younger girls, they're just wild and they're running around and stuff, but like the adult hunt, you can see, is just so funny. Like Shauna is like she's not running that fast. I wouldn't be running that fast out there either. And it's not quite as like dramatic, I would say. But yeah, so then Callie kind of walks into the middle of it and sees them chasing her mother with knives. And so she shoots whoever. She's not asking questions, these masked women. And so she shoots Lottie in the arm. And Lottie is like, oh my gosh, this is your daughter? She's so powerful. And she's completely taken aback once she realizes that this is Shauna's daughter. And so there's something here going on because obviously Shauna drew the queen card. So we saw it also with Natalie. So Natalie had in the teen timeline when Natalie drew the queen card, and she took off running, and then Javi offered her kind of sanctuary to protect her. And in doing so, they exchanged places. He exchanged his fate with hers. So when we see Shauna in the adult timeline draw the queen card and they're all chasing her, and then one thing happens, one thing leads to another, and then it's Natalie who ends up dying. Does this now mean that Shauna is the de facto queen, the queen of hearts, because she did draw the card? She outmaneuvered her own demise, just as Natalie had done in their teen timeline. So does that mean that she now inherits that title, that she's now the queen because she, did the right thing? But what's so interesting is that Lottie seems to see some major potential in Callie. And so does she believe that she is more suited for the role as queen than Shauna? Because Shauna's not exactly like, a shining example of like mental stability. Let's be real. And so, and it doesn't look like, based on the trailer, that that's getting any better in season 3. So, Shauna really believes that someone is following them or somebody wants to hurt them. We even see actually in the new trailer that just came out, Jackie says that to her. It's Jackie, she has that vision of Jackie or whatever. And Jackie says to her, somebody wants to hurt you for the things you did out there. So, and this is another, this is like Jackie being Shauna's sort of guardian angel. Like she's always there to warn her when somebody's trying to hurt them. But is this like delusion in Shauna's head? I mean, again, Shauna is not exactly a shining example of mental stability. So is she losing it? So and so Lottie, coming back to Lottie shows up. She's going to show up at their house. Is she there to cultivate a relationship with Callie, to get to know her better, to fill her in on some of the secrets, or to maybe just like confront Shauna and be like, we need to talk about this kind of stuff? A lot of questions, but I really like this idea of Callie and Shauna kind of going at it, and Lottie being sort of I don't know, like a pot stirrer in the situation, Okay. Let's see. Let me go back and check the chat here. So, Pit Girl may not happen until season 5. We're gonna get more hints about Pit Girl, and I think we already got some in the trailer. Like we had that opening scene with Mari, and they're like running through the woods, and then Mari turns around. It's very parallel imagery to the Pit Girl scene. And the showrunners have teased that we are going to get more on the Pit Girl scene. Maybe not the entire thing playing out, but we're going to get more hints towards it. And I really think that that's one of the core mysteries of the show. So I think they're going to really like drag that out for as long as possible, which I'm fine with. I think it's a great, it's a great draw. Like it's the very first scene of the very first episode. If that's not hooking you in, then I don't know what is. So, yeah. And I also theorize that the Pit Girl scene, the whole Pit Girl like ritual, which appears to take place all in one day, I actually believe that that's going to take place like the day before they are rescued. And that's going to, further just like torment them mentally, right? Um, because they're going to wonder, like, is that the wilderness? Like, is it an offering to the wilderness and now we're being rewarded? Or, is there evidence left behind? That's one of the things Shauna says in the pilot episode. If anyone's digging, we're all screwed. So, and digging, think about it. She's a pit girl. So there's evidence. There's evidence if someone was really looking. So I don't know. Okay. Callie is so powerful that she will kill Jeff, as Shauna told him in the pilot episode. Yeah, that's another thing that was, foreshadowed is Shauna says, if you get me pregnant, then I'll raise the baby to be a killing machine that hunts you down or something like that. So, and, we're seeing more and more of that, like in season 2, and Callie's kind of learning more and more about her mom. But like we have that scene where she comes into the kitchen and she's like, can I cut stuff? And like she starts cutting a cucumber, like phallic shaped, like there's just these kind of hints. And then even Syracusa, when they come and they search the house and they're looking for evidence, he says to Callie, the man-eating, or wait, what did she say? The apple doesn't fall far from the effed up man-eating tree. So like there's this, and she's like, am I like mom? She's very concerned that she's like her mom in the way that her mom is like a man eater, like I mean, think about Adam, and so like the fact that Jeff has gotten by so scot-free, for all these years that, I think it will eventually. And he had those dreams. He has the dreams of Shauna, like, attacking him. And so I think, Jeff maybe like, I don't know. I don't know if he's going to make it. I don't know if any of the, like, I actually low key, my theory is that Shauna is actually going to die in season 3. I'm just going to put it out there right now. Okay. It's stated for the record. That's kind of what I think is going to happen. Yep, exactly. So, and it's going to come down to like this contention, but we're also going to have this wilderness justice go on. So, all right, let's just get into wilderness justice. Okay. Let's stop talking about the characters. Let's just talk about the thing I really want to talk about, which is the wilderness justice. So let me pull up the appropriate photo so we can get into this. Now, my friends who are here who love Greek mythology as much as I do, tell me in the chat, have you read the Oresteia by Aeschylus? The Oresteia, it is about Agamemnon after the Trojan War. So just tell me in the chat really quick if any of you have read this lovely trilogy, which is one of the only, I believe it's the oldest complete trilogy that that is owned or whatever is available. Okay, Carl. Okay, perfect. I love you guys. I'm glad that you have. Okay. My good students. All right, so let's talk about this. So you guys, I'm sure, are familiar with the Trojan War, the War of Troy, Helen, all that kind of stuff. So Agamemnon was the brother of Menelaus, and he's also like the king of Argos, which was like very considerable. He was like a kind of high king, I guess you might say. I'm not exactly sure on like the verbiage of it, but he was like he was not like the king of Greece, but he was maybe more of the king of like the larger region they were in or something like that. Anyways, Agamemnon, infamous for murdering his daughter Iphigenia. Okay, you guys, are you familiar with Iphigenia? Where she was sacrificed to Artemis. This is all a tapestry. So Iphigenia was sacrificed to Artemis because the ships, when they were trying to sail to Troy, were like, basically dead in the water. There was no wind. They couldn't move. And so Artemis commanded him to sacrifice his firstborn daughter to her. And Artemis, she like keeps maidens around herself and all this kind of stuff. And there's variations of this myth. One includes her turning into a deer at the last moment. But so from what I understand, they basically lie and say, oh, we're going to marry Iphigenia to Achilles. And Achilles is like a great warrior, obviously. And so they have Iphigenia and Agamemnon's wife, Clytemnestra. They are summoned basically to bring her like she's going to be married. And so they're all excited and they show up, and then they realize actually he's going to sacrifice her. And she's very brave. And so she's sacrificed to Artemis so that they can gain wins in their favor to go to war. Seems worthwhile, right? So Clytemnestra, Agamemnon's wife, obviously not very happy about the whole situation. She has to return home while her husband goes off to war. Her daughter is now dead. She's devastated. She returns home to Argos and, she's very angry with her husband, wants to kill him, obviously. She has to wait a long time for him to get home. I think it's like 10 years or something like that. Finally, he returns home and he's greeted as, a king, and they bring him in. Mind you, she's got a side piece. His name is Aegisthus, and he has his own personal like vendetta against Agamemnon for, well, generational trauma, because they're like cousins, and I think Agamemnon's father made him cannibalize his sons or something like that. I can't remember the exact that drama, but Aegisthus hates Agamemnon. Clytemnestra obviously also hates him now. They've been waiting for him to come back for all these years. And so yes, Carl, I'm so glad you pointed this out. Yes, absolutely. And you see these so much in actually that was in my opinion, in Dune Prophecy, kind of the better storyline was like what was going on, where it was sort of the Oresteia vibes happening. Anyways, so Clytemnestra, her husband comes home. He gets greeted like a king. They're, oh, we're so happy you've returned from war. You're this hero, yada, yada. He's like, oh, she says, why don't you go take a bath? You're stinky from war. Like, just make yourself at home. So he goes in and he gets in his bath, and Clytemnestra comes in and she murders him. And then, so they have other children together too. So they have a son named Orestes, and they have a daughter named Electra. And Orestes basically is exiled. Like, Aegisthus wants to kill him so that there's never the risk of him like rising up as a competition or anything like that. But Clytemnestra's like, no, that's my son, let him live. And so they exile him. And so he goes off and he gets, raised up by like some random Uncle Argyle. And he and so Clytemnestra and Aegisthus, they rule the castle, they rule the house now. And Electra, the other daughter, she's left there alone, and they treat her very poorly. They treat her sort of like a servant, and she gets no respect. Her mother's sort of selfish and indulgent and, living in luxury and all. And then Aegisthus is like taken her father's place and like acts like he's the king. And so she hates it. And so, but Clytemnestra starts to suffer from nightmares. She's having nightmares of Agamemnon and kind of the past coming back to hunt her, right? And so she sends Electra. She says, please take this wine, take these libations to your father's grave and try to appease him, say a prayer to him, ask him to, be at peace, kind of thing. So she goes to the tomb, where she happens to run into her brother Orestes. And like some years have gone by. So like Orestes was young when he was exiled. Now he's like a strong young man. And Apollo had come to him and said, you need to avenge your father. And he goes to the tomb. He happens to find his sister Electra there. She's there like delivering these libations. And actually the second part of the story is called the libation bearers. And they come up with a plot to get revenge on their mother. So they decide they're going to kill her and kill Aegisthus and get, a vengeance for their father. So they work it out. Orestes infiltrates the castle. He basically goes there to say as a messenger, and he says, oh, Orestes has been killed. I've been sent to tell his mother. So then she's, sad, but she's also very like superficial. And then she sends for Aegisthus, and anyways, Orestes ends up killing all of them. But then things get crazier. So now my girls, the Erinyes, the Eumenides, they are the goddesses of vengeance and justice from the underworld. They live in Tartarus. They are, yes, Carl, they are sort of vengeful goddesses. They are terrifying looking. They have like bleeding eyes and like, their hair is snakes and their voices are like shrill and shrieking and this kind of thing. But they are the goddesses of justice, and not just any justice. They are particular to familial justice. Okay. And they go down to like the minuscule detail. They are not persecuting Clytemnestra for killing Agamemnon. They are persecuting Orestes for killing Clytemnestra, because that's his mother. Whatever happened between Clytemnestra and Agamemnon, they're a married couple. That's their business. Okay. We don't deal with that, but they will deal with interfamilial blood debts and justice like that. Okay. So, Clytemnestra had been leaving offerings and praying to the Eumenides in the underworld. And when she died, her spirit called out to them and asked them to avenge her. And so she pursues Orestes. So Orestes cannot find peace, and there are these demonesses haunting him that he can see. They're there in the darkness, but nobody else can really see, but he's losing his mind. And so he goes to the temple of Apollo, and he's like, I don't know what to do. Apollo told me to do this. Apollo told me to avenge my father. And now I'm being pursued by the Eumenides, and what do I do? What do I do? So Apollo comes to him and he says, you need to go to the temple of Athena. And he cleanses Orestes. He gives him a ritual, cleansing of his crimes. And so that was a, sort of Greek thing. And so he says, go to the temple of Athena and put your hands on the statue and she will protect you. So there's sort of this kind of hunting thing where the Eumenides are like pursuing him as he's going to the temple of Apollo, but then they fall asleep once they're there. And Orestes is able to sneak out to get a head start to go to the temple of Athena, which is in Athens. And so he's running down there. The Eumenides wake up, they figure out what's going on, they go down there. Okay, so here's where the real wilderness justice begins. So Athena, we know her as the goddess of wisdom. We know her as the goddess. She's a just, wise, fair, virgin goddess. Okay, interesting that, interestingly, like these virgin goddesses are often associated with heroic men, but that's another story we can go down. So he runs and makes his way there. He says, Athena, Apollo sent me, and I've had my ritual cleansing, but what am I supposed to do? And then the Eumenides show up, and they're like, well, we have a right to punish him for his crimes because of this. This is how we operate. So basically Athena is like caught between because Apollo is advocating for Orestes while the Eumenides want to persecute him. So she says, okay, we're going to call a trial. And this is the origin story of the like Greek judicial sort of system. Okay. A fair wilderness justice system. Okay. So they hold a trial where they are, they each like kind of state their side, and Athena is kind of the ultimate judge, and she decides in favor of Orestes. So but in doing so, she and the Eumenides, of course, they are very unhappy with this choice. So she grants them what is it? I think it's like at that point they're granted like the power of like justice and that kind of thing. They're also changed, like their description is changed from being like these vengeful goddesses into they call them the gracious ones. So they're sort of their purpose is subverted in a sense. And we see this kind of with a lot of underworld gods anyways, like with Hades. Like you don't call Hades or the god of the dead or anything like that. You want to call him like the good god. They're the gracious ones. This is the gracious good god. He is so kind. He is so good. Because you don't want to call upon their negative aspects to like come and have influence over you or have power over you. You want to say, no, Hades is my gracious good god. Like Hades he is so wise, and it's almost a subversion of the language so that you're playing your own mental games to appease these gods, right? Whatever. They were very prominent in these people's lives. So long story short, we had in season 2 the Bacchanal scene. We have these sort of Greek storylines going on, and then the Greek characterization. Like if you watched the Greek mythology live stream that we did, which was like 5 hours long last year, where we sort of associate each of the characters with their Greek counterpart, because they are taking on these archetypes, these goddess archetypes, and these female Jungian sort of archetypes in each of the characters and of the survivors of the Yellowjackets. But like also there's this sort of Greek play with it. And so like the Bacchanal scene where they are dissociating while they eat Jackie has a lot of implications because of the story of the Bacchae, which is a myth of Dionysus and the his return to Thebes, and then the Maenads, who are his like followers, who sort of have this like frenzy that overtakes them. Is sort of a berserker state, one might say, where they are overwhelmed with like this like they dismember people, they cannibalize, and so you're hearing the story as they're coming closer and closer to Thebes, and they're dismembering cows and and even babies, some say. And so it's a great story. We've talked about it a lot in season 2, and it's definitely on the book list, the book club list. Yes, there is a book club. Jeff is invited. And the Bacchae by Euripides is definitely near the top of the list on that one. So you can kind of understand the Bacchanal scene a little bit more. So along with that, I do believe in season 3, we're going to see another layer to that, which is the Oresteia, which is an establishment of a justice system, a judicial system. And there's been sort of these hints to this throughout Yellowjackets, throughout, especially like more so in season 2, but where we have, so for example, when they are getting ready to do the hunt in the adult timeline, and they're drawing the cards, and Ty is like resisting for a moment on drawing a card, and Lottie says, Taitha, are you refusing the draw because you know what the whatever the what's the word I'm trying to think, what the outcome of that is if you refuse the draw. So obviously there are rules, and one would imagine there's going to be more of an established set of rules and laws that they're living by, the longer that they're out there. Like up until this point, and I feel like season 1 and 2, they've just kind of been surviving, but now we're getting into them being out there for like a year. So at a certain point, you're not just surviving. This is your life now. So what are you going to do? What are you going to, how are you living this? So they've sort of done the experimental, like, okay, this is how we survive. Now they kind of know what they need to do to get by. So they're going to have more of an established set of rules that they're following so that they kind of know. And they're creating their own society. So, and that's kind of what the Oresteia is about, because prior to Orestes getting to Athens and sort of this process of a trial system happening, we see they're going from this sort of animalistic, like vengeance, like you killed my daughter for a god so you could get wind, so you can go to war. And so I'm going to kill you for that, for vengeance. And then my children are going to kill me. So it's like a generational thing that's being carried on. And so this sort of animalistic, like tit for tat that they are, playing with out there, to the point where it becomes a more established system of justice, so that there's not just like, that's not the system of justice. The system of justice is not just vengeance, right? That's no way, like that's not a civilized way to survive, or to run a city, or to be the king of Argos. So, this kind of thing. It had to come to a stop. It had to come to an end. So I have so many thoughts on that, and we're definitely going to get into it more, especially when it comes to Callie and Shauna and their dynamic, because even that is an aspect of the Oresteia, where we have this what's called the Electra complex, which is this dynamic between mother and daughter, where it's kind of it's more complicated than when I just say this. It's a sort of female equivalent of penis envy, or sort of like a Oedipus complex, but between mother and daughter, over vying over the affections of the father. Okay, if that makes sense. And it's not necessarily a romantic affection that the daughter wants to obtain from her father, but there's so many layers to it. And so when we think about like Electra and Clytemnestra, there's like this vengeance, like, how could you do that to my father? And therefore I will dominate you because of what you did to my father, who was king, kind of thing. It's sort of a very, it is a patriarchal mindset, or a father, like father forward mindset, which, hey, I don't disagree with. Like, I don't, yeah, like a patriarchal mindset in a sense. So a lot of feminists are not gonna agree with that. But it's a complicated, complex thing. So, but I love like exploring this. Like you can see it between these characters. So, and we can see like Callie and Jeff have their own dynamic, their own close relationship, and also their own, like, Jeff is the one that told Callie about the baby in the wilderness. Jeff is the one that offers comfort to Callie when she's feeling upset. Like, think about the comfort that Shauna offers. She doesn't really. Like, think about like when Kevin stopped by the house and Callie sort of got Shauna out of that situation, but then she's like, Callie, go out the back door in case he's still out there. Like, there's no comfort, there's no like affection going on between those two. And so yeah, it's a complicated thing. And then of course, like, Shauna is very possessive over Jeff for essentially no other reason than she's a dominant like woman. Like, she's like, that's mine, like, he's mine. It's not like she's particularly affectionate or romantic with him. I mean, yeah, they have their dynamic, their marriage, they're comfortable with each other and that kind of thing, but like there's a possessiveness that to Shauna that she has over Jeff, even with Jackie, and then again with Callie now, or just anyone like Bianca or what have you. So okay, so wilderness justice, we're going to be getting into that. Now, I wanted to read you guys, I hope you like this, but I'm going to read you a Bible quote, but I think it's actually very relevant. So please, like, don't judge me too hard. I know some of you guys are like not that into it. I just read this in church yesterday and I just really felt like it was so applicable to the wilderness. And we know that there are aspects of Christianity in Yellowjackets. Like, let's think about it. Okay, season 1, the pilot episode, Shauna tried to become Catholic. She likes the saints. They're also tragic. So there are like some aspects of Christianity in this series that should not be discounted. Like, we should pursue those. And even when it comes to like the sparrows and all that kind of stuff, there's a lot of little things. And Mandy is like a wealth of information in this area. Like, she's definitely our biblical Yellowjackets scholar. But the quote I was going to read to you guys is Romans 2:12 through 16. There's a couple parts of it that I feel like are really relevant to the wilderness justice. So, for all those who sinned without law will also perish without law, but those who sinned under law will be judged by law. Okay? For the hearers of law are not the ones righteous before God, but the doers of law will be declared righteous. For when people of the nations who do not have law do by nature the things of the law, these people, although not having law, are a law unto themselves. It's a lot of law. Okay, they are the very ones who demonstrate the matter of the law to be written in their hearts, while their conscience is bearing witness with them, and by their own thoughts they are being accused or even excused. This will take place in the day when God, through Christ Jesus, judges the secret things of mankind according to the good news I declare. That was written by Paul, the Apostle Paul. So I thought that was really relevant, especially there's a couple of sections. So, for all those who sinned without law will also perish without law, but those who sinned under law will be judged by law. So I feel like that first part of that statement is very relevant to the teenage timeline. Those who sinned without law will also perish without law. So they're not being held to some law for their behavior because they're surviving. They're operating without law. They're operating in a lawless system. They're simply doing what they can to survive. And also, like, they're children. I mean, yes, they have a sense of right and wrong and morality and that kind of thing, but think about their situation. Even Coach Ben is a prime example. The other girls, they're doing what they have to survive. They're operating without law. they'll cannibalize. Coach Ben is an adult. His brain is more developed. He is aware of the law. He's aware of consequences, and he's not willing to exceed those boundaries, like go beyond those boundaries, despite them living in a lawless place. He still has that moral standard, or he's living by like sort of society's like code of morality, which I think is really interesting. And then it says, but those who sinned under law will be judged by law. So I feel like that's really applicable to the adult timeline, because all the women now, they're acting so reckless. They're like Shauna and Adam and like Thaisa with Simone. I mean, they're so reckless and they know what they're doing. So they're acting with that recklessness that they had out in the wilderness where they're operating without law, but now they're in a place where they do have to operate by law. So you don't get to just, live by the rules of your trauma that happened while you were out there. Yes, that's how you operated in your trauma or whatever, without law. You're in a lawless place. You didn't know, but now you do know. Now you're old enough to know. You're in a place with law, a place with boundaries, and you're still acting lawless. So now you're going to be judged under the law. So there's this duality, this sort of dual aspect, like of the wilderness justice. And I do think that that's going to be a great way to kind of bring it forth in season 3, because I know most of us were not a huge fan of the cop storyline in season 2, Syracusa and Kevin and all of that. I do think it serves a purpose, and hopefully we're going to get into more of like a rich version of that in season 3. And I think that like Bible quote was a really like great example of the duality. So yeah, and this other part. So for when the people of the nations do not have law, okay, for when the people of the nations who do not have law do by nature the things of the law, these people, although not having law, are a law to themselves. So that's another way of saying, like, they're going to create their own version of laws. Like, even if they're in a place where they don't have laws, they're operating without law, they will come up with a law system for themselves, whether it's written, codex or what have you. So I think I'm so excited, because if we are kind of combining these two ideas, the Oresteia, the Greek establishment of law and of a, sort of a trial system, and then also the this kind of biblical, this Roman sense of like these nations like operating in a lawless society, but how do we come about establishing that? And then also, what standard are you held to when you're in a lawless environment versus when you're in a lawful environment, when you're in society and that kind of thing. And I love looking at that duality in Yellowjackets of society standards versus like wilderness standards, and how different they are and how closely they are. Like, I live on the edge of it. Like, I walk through the threshold into the muskeg in my backyard, or I can be on this side where I have Wi-Fi and I'm live streaming to you guys. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's an interesting duality that we all straddle. So, oh, Mandy's here. Where are you? You were supposed to be here. Gosh dang it. But I summoned her with my biblical quotes. She knew. So, all right. Well, this is like going very well, Mandy. Okay. This is going very well. Okay. So, all right. Let's get into Misty, because she's got some stuff going on. Okay. So, Misty is struggling. So and I don't blame her. Like, the end of season 2 was pretty rough. She accidentally killed her best friend. She so she was trying to protect Nat, and I love the scene of this whole thing happening, where Nat is still compounded by guilt for what happened to Javi, and then we have Lisa, and Lisa is such a Javi slash Jesus character. Like, Lisa is so Christ-like. And you know what? I was rewatching this and it is just so prominent. Lisa has so many Jesus Christ attributes that I really think you guys should like consider that when you're watching her. Not to just be like going down the Bible rabbit hole, but she with the fish, with her teaching Natalie how to forgive. It was like almost every single scene that she's in, there's sort of this nod to Christ and forgiveness and rebirth and that kind of thing. And this fear that like she's going, something's going to happen to her. And so Natalie really cares about Lisa. And when it came right down to it, she was not willing to allow what happened to Javi to happen again to Lisa. She just could not carry that guilt. And I don't think that Natalie, like, I really think she was ready to go. Like, we saw such this shift in her at the end where she was kind of making peace and like just making peace with the past and her trauma and everything that she'd gone through, and she was wearing the purple, and there was this just huge shift in her outlook, and so Misty doing that, and Misty is so devoted to Nat, like she was just so devoted to her and being her protector, and we see that even also in the finale when Natalie is being named queen and Misty is the one who goes and she literally bows to her, like she's down on her knee, like she is truly devoted to Nat and being her protector. She's definitely like her Lancelot type person. Like she will do anything for her. Call me day or night, doesn't matter what time, I've got your back. And so taking her life, Misty's really going to struggle with that. It's too much. And I'm amazed to see that like if she and Walter are able to like get through it, because I feel like Misty is going to be very devastated mentally. Now there's a shot in the new trailers where Misty goes to what appears to be Natalie's storage unit that we saw in the pilot episode where Nat had her car and her gun and just kind of all of her trinkets and all of that in there. We also see that Misty goes from wearing an outfit like this to an outfit, hold on, let me pull it up, more like this, which is definitely Nat, like that's Nat's style, like the leather jacket and all of that. So is she going to get, and we see her dressed in the leather in another photo. Oh, let me see it. I don't know if I have that photo. I don't think I do, but whoops. No, I don't think I do. But anyhow, she's wearing the leather jacket and she's out and about. She's living her life dressed like Nat. So So I think this is going to be like also like part of her devotion to Nat, her, being the knight in shining armor, her being like that devoted to Natalie. Like, is she willing to avenge her? And like going back to the wilderness justice system and all of that, like what are we getting into? Is Misty willing to, because there's this other shot in the trailer of Misty literally grabbing a knife and stabbing Shauna in the back. So that's what sort of indicates, like, is Shauna going to be taking on the queen role, and is Misty going to be like super angry about that? Is she going to be like, no, like Nat was our queen, she's always our queen, and when she dies, like the whole thing dies? Or is she like, yeah, we're going to continue this on? Misty, as we know her, seems like she would say, no, we're continuing this on. But will she be that affected by Natalie's death that she would say, you know what, this whole thing has to stop? I think there's even a shot in the new trailer where she says, none of this is healthy or something like that. So maybe Misty is like really trying to put the kibosh on the whole thing. Now, in that other picture I had pulled up, she's literally burning their, let me see. I have too many photos pulled up. Hold on, let me find it. She's burning the high school reunion photo. Freaking Lottie. Sorry, I have too many photos up right now. Hold on, I'm gonna just switch it around. Okay, share this tab instead. Close this one. Okay, so this is the photo. You can barely kind of see it, but it's from the high school reunion. So like, what does this imply? What does this mean? Is Misty, she's just done with the whole thing? She just says, no, we're not doing this anymore. Or does she think, maybe she thinks that because she's the one who did it, she's the one who took Natalie's life, that she therefore is now the new queen. So we could be looking at like a secondary like contention between the women, because there's always been the contention between Shauna and Nat, which I think we're going to see more fleshed out in this season with the two of them coming at odds, which I do believe is because of Coach Ben and the cabin fire and all of that. So which we need to come back around to. We didn't quite finish that discussion, but I do think that, yeah, so maybe there's the potential, and this is just kind of dawning on me right now as we're talking, that, yeah, potentially we could see. So maybe Shauna thinks because she had drawn the queen card, she says, oh, I'm queen next, Natalie's dead, what have you. Lottie may say, no, actually, I think it's Callie. Callie is more powerful than you. So Lottie's over there pushing for Callie. Shauna's over there thinking she's in charge, like she's been waiting her whole life for, because Shauna definitely believes that she should be in charge of things. Crazy. And then Misty may in turn believe that she should be in charge because she's the one that eliminated the former queen. So we have a lot of actual, like, this is like the worst week of PMS of your life. People are syncing up and it's not looking good, girls. So I don't know. What do you guys think in the chat? Let me know. I'm going to get caught up in the chat here. I've been talking for quite a while and we are running a little long. I want to start wrapping it up. So we'll come back to that idea. Actually, we'll just come back to it. So yeah, so when it comes right down to the wilderness system of justice, I do think that it's going to come down to like this contention between Shauna and Nat. And the reason for that is going to be Coach Ben. So as we discussed earlier, that the cabin fire potentially may have not been set by Coach Ben, even though it looks like he's the one who did it. He has the matches, he's at the scene of the crime, but there's still the potential that it may have been Taissa. And we're not getting into all those details right now. If you don't agree with it, it's a good theory. Don't be a hater. Anyway, so, but if that were the case, now the girls are going to believe that it was Coach Ben who lit the fire. I mean, who else is out there? Who's going to lock them in the cabin, barricade them in there, and light the cabin on fire from the outside? They're naturally going to believe that it was Coach Ben. He just kind of seems like the only other person that we know of at this time who did that. Now, also, we didn't even talk about, Javi's friend. We haven't even mentioned her, or him, or who. I think he said it was a her. And then also wherever Crystal went. We just don't know where her body went. So, I mean, there's potentially other like boogie monsters out there in the woods. All right. But we're going to believe that it's Coach Ben. That's what they're very simplistic. They're going to believe that it was Coach Ben that did it. Therefore, they're going to start hunting him down. They're going to try and find him. Natalie knows where I believe Natalie knows where no, Natalie doesn't know. Taissa knows where they are. The reason Taissa knows is when they were mapping out the trees, the symbol trees, and Ty was the one guiding them to all of them. The very last one, the very last tree that they found was in the same place that they found Javi. So they know that Javi's hideout was in that general area if they don't even have that specific tree marked out. So they know Coach's cave. I mean, I would imagine they're going to assume that I think Coach told Natalie, he said, I have a safe place for us. I know where Javi was staying, I think is what he said. And so Natalie knows that Coach is staying at where Javi was. Taissa knows where Javi was staying. So we have two pieces of this puzzle, and they're going to come together and they're going to try and find Coach. And Coach can only stay hidden for so long because he is like, he's just not going to be very functional at like being discreet out in the forest, like especially as the girls are getting better at like hunting, tracking, and that kind of thing. Just being out in that environment, like it'll just become harder, especially because he can't move fast. He's got a crutch. There's just all these factors. So I think it's only going to be a matter of time before they find him, and then they're going to try and bring him in for wilderness justice. There's some sort of trial. Did he do it? Did he set the cabin on fire? Coach, and then we're going to see Coach is probably going to say, no, I didn't do this. What are you talking about? That's great. What is going on? Isn't that what he says in the trailer? What is happening or whatever? So he's going to be completely like, and let's be real, like Coach, would he won't even cannibalize with the other girls. So what makes us believe that he would lock them all inside and light the cabin on fire? Like, even under the best circumstances, if Coach had some other way of, like, let's say he wanted to kill all the girls, and he had some other way of doing it, like, wouldn't he want to preserve the cabin? Like, don't you think the cabin would be like the prize in the situation? So like burning down the cabin doesn't seem logical. Like, it just doesn't seem like something he would do, because he's just not that violent, and he's not like the other girls are cannibalizing Jackie's body, he's not participating. The other girls are cannibalizing Javi's body, he's not participating. Like, he is not participating in the wilderness games, So there's just things that, point into the direction of maybe Coach was not the one who burned down the cabin. But the girls are going to believe he did, so they're going to bring him in for wilderness justice. And what my thought is very similarly to the Oresteia, when Orestes has to go to Athena, we have compared Natalie. Well, Natalie is more of the Artemis, but she also has an Athena aspect to her, and we talked about that in the live stream. She has the wisdom and the leadership to be sort of Athena. I think actually Mandy was the one who was saying she's more like Athena. But so I think that, and as sort of the authoritative figure, because she's the queen now, the Queen of Hearts, and the fact that she and Coach Ben have a friendship, like Natalie is not close to the other girls, and Coach Ben, obviously, he's not close to the girls at all, except Misty, maybe, like, whatever. But so the two of them, Natalie and Coach, were always close to each other. Like, they would, be hanging out, or like when Doomcoming was happening, they were off in the woods together, and, just hanging out and having their own time together. Like, they're just a little more personal with each other. And even wasn't it Natalie who showed Coach Javi's like drawings or something, and that's what led to Coach like rummaging through Javi's stuff and then eventually finding his cave. So they have a closeness with each other. So I don't believe, and Natalie also being like the moral compass, she just doesn't get caught up in like the frenzy, the maniac frenzy, the way that the other girls do. And so if it comes right down to it, I don't think that she's going to let the other girls kill Coach. unless the other girls somehow overpower her. Now, the way that they might do that is perhaps Natalie knows where Coach is for longer than the rest of the other girls and doesn't tell them. Like, she keeps it a secret. Like, she finds the cave, or she knows where the cave is. She goes, she sees him. Maybe she takes him food, or maybe she, does whatever, keeps the secret, doesn't tell the other girls, and then they find out. How does that doesn't make Natalie look very good? It makes her look like kind of a traitor, and they're not very understanding people out there in the wilderness. They're pretty, pretty edgy. So it would be interesting, because that would make Natalie lose a lot of credibility amongst the other survivors if she was hiding Coach from them when they all believe that Coach is the cause of the fire. So in that case, they might say, someone like Shauna might say something like, "You're not in charge anymore." Like that might cause the group to divide, because there will be certain people who are like, no, especially like Lottie. Lottie's very understanding and emotional. So she would probably be like, yeah, well, I mean, I get it. Like, I understand why she would keep him hidden or keep that secret, versus someone like Misty or Mari or Shauna, where they're like, no, let's string them up, whatever. I just see them having like a fully like savage reaction to Coach and like pursuing justice. Like, they are going to be the Eumenides in that situation. We're going to see the bleeding eyes and the snakes in the hair kind of like personality change when they're seeking out this sort of criminal amongst their ranks. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. So long story short, I do think that that's what's going to transpire with that. And then that will here, let me pull this one up too. So we can see here, and this is where it gets interesting. Okay. So Thaisa holding the gun, Natalie in the background crying, Misty in the background crying. So like, who do you think would be crying? Like, if it was Coach, and we have the shot, like I had the antlers and you can kind of see Coach in the background. I'll pull that one back up in just a minute. But who would cry over Coach? If they were like, he's guilty, we're executing him, who would cry? Nat and Misty. Plain and simple. Those are the two characters who are attached to Coach the most. I saw somebody say on Twitter the other day, and I just was like, oh, I'm gonna cry, that they said that Coach is probably the only adult that Natalie ever trusted in her life. And like, you think about that, like, people like kids like go to their teacher, like if they trust them or whatever. Like, what if that was for Natalie, like the only resource that she had? So of course, like, she's not going to want him to be killed. And even though she's the huntress, or even Shauna being the butcher, like, why is it that it's Ty who's holding the gun? A lot of interesting questions here. But it seems like, I'm guessing this is some sort of execution scene, and they're having Ty do the deed because nobody else wants to do it. Nat doesn't want to do it. I don't know why Shauna wouldn't do it. Maybe Shauna is just she's not with the gun. She's not a gun kind of girl. She's a knife person. Yeah, she's a freak. So maybe Ty is just like, okay, well, I'll do it. But Ty is like, that's not her like thing. That's not like, Ty is not a huntress. She's not a killer like that. She is a prophet, as much as she doesn't want to admit it. So that's my guess, is kind of what's happening in the scene. So maybe Ty is not such a great shot. Harry, you're a terrible shot. And so if she misses, Is that the wilderness? The wilderness chose? Like, what if maybe the wilderness justice would say, okay, you get 1 shot, you get 3 shots, but if you miss, then the wilderness has spoken and you are free to go. I don't know. Just kind of spitballing ideas here, but maybe that's the case. Um, and Nat was like, I don't care. I'm not going to be the one to do it. I don't know. You guys tell me what you think. Tell me in the chat. I'm going to get caught up here on the chat. It's been a few minutes. Let's see here. Crystal is real. Let's see. Crystal is real, but I'd love for you guys to argue about it in the chat. Who is standing by Shauna? Let me see. This is who we speculate is potentially Teen Robin. I believe this is Teen Brit over here. So, those 2 new characters, and then also this is Melissa in the background. So my theory is, if you guys didn't watch the video, that if the group does split off into factions, then I think a lot of the JV will go with Shauna, is like kind of how I'm theorizing it going down. If it's between, Nat and Shauna as kind of their leaders, then I think we're going to see a lot of the JV go with, and I think Ty would probably go with Shauna, and I think that contributes to like their friendship in the future, that the 2 of them are so close. But I think that Misty would stay with Nat. I think that Lottie would stay with Nat. I think Van will want to stay with Nat, but she is committed to Ty, so she'll go with Ty. But I do think that Van will act as sort of like an intercessor, like she will go in between the 2 factions. Because I think she will maintain some loyalty to Nat. And it's not even just Nat so much as it is to Lottie. Like, I think she's really committed to Lottie's profit stuff. But yeah, I mean, I think if anyone was gonna go with Shauna, it's gonna be Thaisa, and then Melissa for mythology reasons, which you guys should know if you've been watching the channel. JV red shirts. Yeah, I mean, there's only and that's why I think that was why I was speculating potentially that Teen Brit and Teen Robin are getting bigger roles in season 3, or like becoming, characters in season 3, is because if Shauna ends up with her own faction, she's going to have some people in there that she's familiar with or like conversating with besides just Melissa, or with Ty. I mean, they're going to have to start having a group dynamic, which is probably terrifying, like under Shauna's leadership. Yeah, right. That's the Cannibal Council, I'm guessing, I don't know. Okay, let's see. In the scene from the season 3 trailer where so done, someone is bending down and picking up an envelope addressed to Shauna Shipman. Is this Shauna or Callie? I can't tell. It looks like Callie. I think that's Callie. Looks like Callie to me. But I wonder if she'll open the envelope before giving it to her mom. Okay. Van and Misty were flanking Lottie at the end of the first season. I feel like they both might be with her if they split into 2 groups. Well, see, and Van's kind of the wild card as per usual. She's our Jack. So I think that, yeah, it could go both ways. Why I say, like, I definitely think that Ty would go with Shauna, like 100%. Like, I feel that for those 2. Van is kind of in between, because I think Van, of course, her heart would want to go with Ty, but I think her spiritual self would want to stay with Lottie. And ultimately, Van has been trying to bring Ty and Lottie together because of their, like, remember in season 2, Ty finds all the trees, Van makes the map, and she says, "We need to tell Lottie about this." And Ty's like, "No, we're not telling Lottie. Like, Lottie doesn't even know. It's none of her business," kind of thing. But the two who really like, I really feel, and this is like the subject of my video that or my essay I'm writing about these two, is like this sort of dark prophet and light prophet, and that's Lottie and Ty. They both have this prophetic ability, this ability to connect with the whatever god or entity that they are connecting with. And the ultimate question really comes down to, like, is the man with no eyes a separate entity from the wilderness, or is this all like interwoven under one guise, or are these like battling, like warring entities, and the girls are sort of just what is, Mandy, what do you always say, the principalities quote? Yeah, so it's like warring factions, warring principalities, but what if the girls are just like pawns on the playing board versus, like, our wilderness god and the man with no eyes, who are like fighting each other, maybe for dominance, maybe for territory, who knows? It's a very weird question. The man with no eyes has been shown a couple of times in the trailers, so I'm really hoping that we're going to get some more concrete answers, because honestly, that's one of the major enduring mysteries of the series as well, is what the hell is the man with no eyes, and why is he connected to Thaisa, and how did she inherit him from her grandmother? Was her grandmother haunted by him? Is that why she was so obsessed with God and, like, with the Bible, and sort of singing these like happy, like biblical songs with little Thaisa when she was a little girl? There's so many questions, and of course the Oresteia, that's one of the big enduring questions or themes at the heart of that story, is generational curses, generational trauma, and like what you inherit, um uh like from your ancestors. And are you afflicted by that? Like, do you have to inherit that, or can you say, no, I'm not inheriting that? A lot of questions. It's relevant to me in my life, to be perfectly honest. I'll be honest with you guys. And so, I like that we're exploring this more and more in the series, because it's, I think, an enduring question for many people, as far as like epigenetic trauma and that sort of thing. So, and yes, and exactly. Is Sammy going to be afflicted by this? We don't even, like, Sammy has been left in the dust, but is he going to inherit? Like, is he subject to inheriting the man with no eyes? Because then also, like, we don't, like, that's kind of a little bit of a low key question in the fandom, is like, is Sammy like blood related to Ty? So is that a factor in inheriting this? Or because it's kind of suspected maybe he's Simone's child, by like biological child, versus Ty's, he's kind of looks more like Simone. So maybe he won't be subjected to inheriting this curse, versus Callie, who is Shauna's daughter, and we see she is clearly afflicted by this. She's inheriting the curse. Um, it's interesting to ponder over, because those are kind of our the kids in the story, the biological children of the Yellowjackets. So we have sort of opposing, like, ways of looking at what's going to happen to them. And if that is connected to, yeah, a generational, like, an epigenetic trauma, or curse, or, a curse on the bloodline or something like that, maybe from Ty's side, from the grandmother, from some ancient ancestor that they're not, that we're unaware of. I love this kind of stuff. It's very interesting. So here, let me look in the chat here. Watch season 5 and with everything we see and then show Sammy smiling all creepy. He is the man with no eyes. Oh, because think about his little doll that Thaisa like mutilated and like cut his eyes out and like, you know, she took her down to like the basement for her creepy ritual that she did with Biscuit's head and all this. I mean, who knows? Because Ty doesn't even know. So we don't know because Ty doesn't even know. She is fully unconscious of her behavior. So I hope that we're going to see some really strange stuff and like Van is the witness to this. She's our Jehovah's Witness. She is witness to the fucking, to whatever weird stuff that Ty is getting up to. She's the witness of the prophet because it's like, I don't know. Ty doesn't even know. So like we still don't know. Like, I mean, I guess that ritual like won her. By the way, oh yeah, she is a senator. The ritual which won her the seat in the state senate, and then she never went back to work again. She just said, I ain't never going to work again. I won. I'm good. I'm out of here. I'm on vacation. So I don't know. Like, who knows what's going on with Ty. I would love to see her go back to work. I mean, let's be real. Like, somebody's got to hold down the fort. Somebody's got to run the state. You know, like, shouldn't you be going to DC here? Come on, babe. Okay. Let's see. Yes. Well, that's my oh, interesting. I had a weird theory that the pit girl scene is the actual ending of the show where the group goes back to the woods and imagines themselves as children. I somewhat agree with that idea. I definitely think that, like, don't you feel like they have to go back to the wilderness? Like, I feel like that has to happen. You don't get to, I don't know. I mean, I think maybe at least one of them, maybe somebody has to, maybe that's the very end game. Somebody has to go back and be the new dead cabin guy. That's just the rules. Like, one person has to be there. I don't know. I'm just saying things. Okay. Bye, Carl. Thanks for being here. Yeah, I'm going to start wrapping it up. We've gone 2 hours now. Yeah, Ty is a state senator. So how does the senator deal with season 3? News people must be writing about her and the deaths of Nat and Kevin and Lottie. Yeah, exactly. And Lottie's been shot. Yeah. There's a lot of things going on that Ty is like part of. Now, granted, we did get that quick conversation with her and her like publicist before she borrowed her car and left it abandoned on the side of the road. That she was like, oh, well, because I think Ty had Adderall in her system or something. She's like, well, we can spin that story. So like she has people that are there to like spin the story and like, you know, make it look however it needs to look. The thing is like in some of the behind the scenes stuff and like the promo shots and then like even in the trailer, we see Ty is like not holding back. Like she's not keeping it a secret that she and Van are together or like whatever. It's like she's not going to work or whatever. There's a behind the scenes shot that came out a couple months ago of like Van and Ty sitting together on like it looks like maybe a cafe, and they're seated outside and they're sitting together and they're like holding hands. And like, to be clear, Thaisa just won state senator. She's a very prominent figure in her area. For people who like follow politics, they're gonna know exactly who she is and who her spouse is. And Van and Simone are very completely different looking women. So like, it's going to be noticed that Ty is not with her wife. Like, people know who her wife is. They know, like, she's prominent in her own right. As we learned in season 1 when they went to the dinner party, or whatever it was, the thing. So like, people are going to start noticing. There's going to be rumors, she's making out with Van on the street. There's going to be witnesses. People are going to see this stuff. You can't just run around as a senator and act foolish and do all this kind of stuff. without it gaining some traction. So it should be really interesting. I want to see that. Like I kind of hate that that was completely neglected in season 2, that we just like completely fell off of the Thaisa politician storyline. And granted, if we are going to be seeing more of like the wilderness justice and like this justice system happening, then probably we'll get more of Senator Thaisa in this. Because also, let's not forget, Thaisa is a lawyer. Also, she practiced land use or something like that. But yeah, we'll see. We've got some wilderness justice. We've got a lawyer. We've got a senator who's not going to work. There's just all this kind of different things that are, all the pieces are adding up. But yeah, like, is anyone calling Thaisa like, you didn't show up today, girl? You didn't come in. You're gonna lose your benefits. I guess that doesn't happen when you work for the U.S. government, right? Anyways. So, all right, let's see. I really think the man with no eyes is trying to take Ty, but can't because she saw a reflection of him and not him in the real realm. Interesting. I like that. Let's see. So maybe his rules are, if you see him, you're his, and he comes to take your eyes, Ty can only communicate through reflections. I've noticed that as well. Ty has a thing with reflections. I think I made a short video on it, but yeah, every time she's looking into a mirror, some weird stuff goes on. The mirror starts, her reflection starts acting on its own, or yeah, just if you pay attention, it's happened in so many scenes throughout the series. I agree. I think there's something to that. It's like a way for her to access her alter self, but perhaps a way for the man with no eyes to access you. I mean, I guess he's not always in a reflection. Maybe it's you. I don't know. I'm sure there's a math to it, a science to it. We'll figure it out. I'm wondering if we're going to get more of the man, like more of his presence. Like in season 2, I think we only saw him once, like in one episode. And so hopefully in season 3, we're going to get more screen presence from him, because I mean, he has such an influence over Ty, and he's so creepy. He's so creepy and like just such a great addition to like the mysteries of the series. He's just a great like sort of lurking villain, omnipresent like villain type person. We don't really know exactly what his purpose is, and that's what's weird. And other than stealing Ty's grandmother's eyes. So is Ty like the Lady of Shalott? I haven't gone down that mental rabbit hole. I feel like that's more Lottie vibes, but I like it. The Lady of Shalott is actually Helena Targaryen. That's the correct answer. It's Helena Targaryen. Okay. All right. So I think that's about it. If you guys want to start dropping in any last questions or anything like that, I've gone on for 2 hours here. I think we've said things and, been disorganized for long enough. So if you have any last questions, drop them in the chat. But yeah, thank you guys for being here, and thanks for letting me talk to you and just kind of get my thoughts out here. I have a lot of thoughts and ideas, and I'm really so excited for season 3 to get started so we can really start theorizing and just getting into some new content. I am just so excited. Oh, actually, while we're here, let me double check the Twitter space and see if there's anything new posted, just in case we missed it while we were live. It's important to refresh Twitter every 5 seconds so you never miss a Yellowjackets thingy. I don't think we missed anything. I'll double check their page just in case. Nothing. Okay. Well, hopefully tomorrow marks our 1 month, 1 month from the premiere. So hopefully they'll have something new tomorrow. And not just on cable TV that nobody watches. Let's be real. I would love some more promo photos or whatever. Like, if you guys remember during season 2, they had remember at the airport, literally the bins you put your stuff in when you're going through security. They had Yellowjackets themed. It said don't forget your snacks or something. It's like a picture of dead ass Jackie. They had them on the subways, on buses, everywhere. And that's why I think that we're getting a lot of friction from the fandom and a lot of questions where is our stuff? Where's the promo? Where's the promotion? Content creators were getting postcards and, in contact with the marketing team. And, so there's a lot of things that went on in season 2 as far as promotion that we're not seeing for season 3. And that is causing a lot of concern, a lot of buzz. Some might say buzz. People are concerned there. And the reason they're mainly concerned is that they're afraid that that's not a good sign for the show. I think people are concerned that it's an indication that it might be a symptom of the times that maybe this is going to be the last season, which, to be perfectly honest, would be very foolish of Paramount after this merger. But I am not a person who puts these things out of the realm of possibility after being a massive fan of a show called Raised by Wolves, which was canceled in a very untimely fashion. I just made a video about it recently, about Dune Prophecy. So if you guys want to watch that, it's actually more about Raised by Wolves. But when mergers happen with these big media companies, they are looking to pinch pennies in any way, shape, or form. And it's not about anything more than that, which is very unfortunate, because it's not about the quality, it's about the dollar sign. And if there's anything we do know about Yellowjackets, is it has a lot of high quality actors and actresses in it. Probably, all A-list, I would say, as far as their catalog, their resumes. So I am going to guess this is not a cheap show to make. So if there is concern about that kind of thing, then it's simply going to come down to penny pinching, really. And that's unfortunate, because you have a massive fandom of people who are very dedicated to the series. But at the end of the day, when it comes to media companies, it doesn't seem like that's much of their concern. They're going to do what they're going to do, which is unfortunate. So I do hope that the lack of marketing for season 3 is not a symptom of that. But I'm just putting it out there because that's what people are talking about. That's what the fandom is talking about. That's what their concerns are. And the only person, or the only way to fix that is Paramount putting out more marketing stuff, Paramount getting more involved. And and I'm going to be totally honest, if you look at the other shows on Paramount, I don't watch anything else on Paramount except for Beavis and Butthead. So for what that's worth, I don't watch Yellowstone. I don't watch anything Taylor Sheridan does because he concerns me. I won't say more than that, but 17-year-old girls should not be showing side boob. And you don't see that in Yellowjackets. Just saying, you don't see that in Yellowjackets. So that's just kind of where the fandom is. It's giving us a little bit of nervous feelings, like, because we love this show. And as far as we've been primed for years now at this point, is that they were planning on doing 4 to 5 seasons of Yellowjackets. And so that's what we want as a fandom. Like, that's what we want. We don't want to watch Landman. We don't want to watch Yellowstone. We want Yellow Jackets. We want cannibalistic soccer girls. So, yeah, I just think that it's important that we, like, discuss that and, like, put it out there. So, like, we're not caught off guard with anything weird. And of course, if we are, I'm here for you. We'll get through it. I have enough Greek knowledge that we can make up the rest of the story. So, okay. So let me check the chat here for any final questions. Bring Mandy on and go with her for 2 hours. I know, we're gonna have to, I guess, because you know what? Like, what the heck, Mandy? No, I'm gonna be totally honest. I broke my phone this weekend. I mean, it was already broken. I accidentally broke it at my husband's office Christmas party before we even, like, went inside. I accidentally dropped it straight on the gravel outside and cracked the shit out of the screen. And so, anyways, it went through its final stages this weekend. I don't have a phone right now, and I actually love it. I actually love not having a phone. I feel so free, so disconnected, so unburdened. Unburdened by what has been by me owning a phone. Okay. Who is Javi's friend? Good question. Now, this is another one. Well, some might suspect that this could be the cabin daughter, or some descendant of cabin daddy. I don't know. I honestly don't know. Now, there is a really quick shot. Okay, I guess we didn't get a chance to talk about this, but the overlap of the teaser and the trailer. So we can go through those photos really quick because there was only 6 of them. But one of them is this one. Hold on. And this shot here is really interesting because it's hard to figure. I mean, obviously this person on the right, we can't, who is that? Don't know. Face fully covered. Person on the left, maybe Mari, maybe Teen Robin, maybe cabin daughter. I don't know. Like, it's a good question of who this person could potentially be. But Javi's friend was kind of like the first thing that came to mind when we just had the teaser, when the teaser was the only thing that came out. So let's go through the shots real quick that were in the teaser, and then we can, okay, let's see. Whoops. Okay, we're just going through them now, I guess. Okay, so we have that one. Then we also have a shot of Shauna screaming, which that was also in the trailer. We have this shot of Shauna pulling her knife out from her back pocket. I believe this one was in the trailer as well. And actually, I'll pull up another one that is the accompanying shot for that one. Then we have the knife. What is this that it's being stabbed into? I can't really tell because it doesn't look just like wood, you know? Maybe burnt wood. Maybe it's like the cabin remains. But we're covered in blood here, so that's great. So we have the skull, eat your heart out. The skull has the symbol. We've got Jackie's necklace and a bunch of Yellowjackets, like, kind of swarming around it, and then this hatchet situation. That's the actual trailer. Okay. So we also had Coach Ben screaming, which seems like is probably accompanying the trailer scene where he's like, "What is happening?" Who knows what's going on? Like, is he losing his mind? Is this like when he's being accused of the cabin fire? Like, if he didn't set the cabin fire, then him saying, "What is happening?" kind of makes a lot more sense, right? And then this one is the really interesting one. So I think this is Lottie. It looks like Lottie. When I first saw this, I really thought it was Mari because it was just so brief. But actually, once I got the screenshot and really looked at it, it looks like Lottie. But this looks like a man hand, if you ask me. So is this Travis? And then what's happening? Because we know there's the game of trying to get in touch with the wilderness, which is in part a touching death in a sense. Like we saw this in season 2 with Travis and Nat when they are doing drugs in the hotel room and that kind of thing, and they're trying to come as close to the wilderness as they can so they can talk to it. And that's what Travis even says at right before he dies, is that I need to talk to it. So maybe this is the first iteration of that happening. I don't know. Terrifying. Okay, so those are the shots from the teaser and some of them overlap with the trailer. So we kind of have a better, idea of what's happening. But I really think that that one shot we don't know who it is, or we don't know who either of them are. So we could have a Javi's friend person, which some suspect could be a descendant of dead cabin guy, or is this another person lost out in the forest, or is Javi's friend imaginary, or what is going on there? Does Coach Ben know Javi's friend now that he's living in the cave? I don't know. There's a lot of questions. I don't have any answers, so I'm sorry I didn't help at all. Okay, who is Joel McHale's character? Adam's brother who wrote the book Anus. Very good question. I'm dying to know because I love Joel McHale. I absolutely love him. I've loved him for years, since I was a teenager. He's from Seattle. I'm from Seattle. Love him. Call me Jeremy's girlfriend. That's a comedy joke. That's some comedy for you. No, Jeremy is played by, he's a character from the comedian Adam Ray, and Jeremy is obsessed with Joel McHale. So anyways, I keep tweeting. I say, we need to get Adam Ray, we need to get Jeremy on Yellowjackets. Just saying, Adam Ray is hilarious, also from Seattle. So these are my dudes. Okay. Anyways. So I don't know who Joel McHale's character is going to be. It's entirely possible he could be Adam's brother, although they kind of don't look, I don't know, looks wise. I just am not seeing the brotherly parallel. Adam was kind of sort of Latino looking, he kind of had some, I don't know, Spanish or something going on. He's a little more Mediterranean. Oh, he did have the Greek stuff. So he's probably some kind of Mediterranean. Joel McHale, not Mediterranean whatsoever. Very white. So and Joel McHale is also kind of funny too. He's a comedian actor. I mean, he could do serious, but he can do comedy as well. So I had this thought. I mean, it could just be completely random, because when Ashley Lyle, she very randomly met Joel McHale at a concert and was like, "Oh my gosh, I love you." Da, 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 da. And I think they knew, he knew Yellowjackets. She knew who he was, and so she said, "Oh, we should put you on Yellowjackets." And they were kind of drunk, when it was happening. So then a couple weeks later, she reached out to Joel McHale, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, I thought you were joking or whatever." And so, but yeah, so they wrote him into the show somehow. So my thought was what if they just give him some random throwaway role? My thought, based on Joel McHale's acting skills and sort of his style, would be, wouldn't it be funny if he somehow wandered into the girls' camp and he's oh, tries to rescue them or something, and they just end up killing him and eating him. They're just nope. And that's so random and very unlikely. But the only reason I put it out there is going back to Donner Party lore. there were a couple of native guys who found the Donner Party, like, and were going to guide them out, and then the party ended up turning on them and eating them. So, it's not out of the realm of possibility. Like, we're getting into like some crazy, like, I spent the last couple years like researching cannibal lore for some, maybe because I like Yellowjackets, but like I've read a lot of weird books. Like, I would recommend a book called Hamatsa, which is all about the cannibal tribes of the Pacific Northwest where I live. But it is like a prominent cultural lore in our area in the Pacific Northwest, where the Yellowjackets are crashed 600 miles north of Seattle. There is a prominent history of cannibal lore, which you can find that goes back to like, it's going on in the native cultures, completely a respectful tradition, nothing like what the Yellowjackets are how they're treating it. But even like Captain James Cook, who discovered the Northwest Passage, he had all these experiences with the cannibal tribes. And just writing about, like, he had all these records of their rituals, their traditions, and that kind of thing. And again, this was done respectfully, is done as like a battle tactic. It's done as a way of taking on the personality traits, the memories of the victim, right? And so a lot of times this would happen in battle. Like, you defeat this like great warrior, and it's like an honorable thing to cannibalize his body because you are now taking on his warrior spirit, and now that's becoming part of you. But it also scares your your adversaries, your enemies. It's frightening. It's a frightening thing for them. So there's a lot of tradition and ritual involved in it. And that's part, and like, so then also we have the Andes flight with the guys in Uruguay, where the soccer team, or it was what was it, rugby or soccer or football, anyways, the plane crashes, and much like the Yellowjackets, they're forced to survive, and they end up cannibalizing some of their dead teammates because they're out there on the ice, the bodies are frozen, they're completely trapped out there. They made a Netflix miniseries, which I highly recommend. Really good. And it was about that situation that just came out like in the last like a year ago or something. And then we also have the Donner Party, like Donner Party lore, which, I mean, there's a lot to that, but it's, this stranded party of people trying to make it over a mountain pass. They get stuck. They're forced to resort to cannibalism because they literally have no food source. And it's like this weird like phenomenon of a snowstorm that just like would never happen, like maybe happens once in a 100 years or something like that, and they just happen to get stuck in it and caught in it. And then there's this massive, as Ashley Lyle would say, the cannibalism cat was out of the bag. They were going crazy. They were eating everyone. I think they went from the start of their party was something like 80 people, and then by the end there was like 12. Like, and I don't think they all were cannibalized, but like, I mean, a lot of them were. So yeah, I mean, stuff gets crazy out in the wilderness, what are you going to do? So that's, anyways, going back to Joel McHale, like, I mean, who knows? Like, will they be that frenzied? Like, we talked about the Maenadic frenzy with the Maenads and the Bacchanal in the Bacchae. And so will they be that like frenzied that they would just say, you know what, we're actually good out here. We got set up. We survived a fire. My baby died. My best friend died. Like, you think you're going to rescue us, Joel McHale? We're going to eat you. I don't know. I'm just guessing. I just think that would be really fun. As far as like Hilary Swank goes, I think Hilary Swank is more likely to be a cop. I think she's going to be a Fed. who is following up on the Adam Martin case, and then now we have Kevin, and now, and it goes so much further. And so there were behind the scenes shots during filming. I think of a van that was like an FBI van or something like that. So are we going to be getting more into like a deep investigation that could potentially even take investigators to the wilderness to like look for evidence? And if that were the case, like, what are the girls going to do? We talked about this like during the season 2 live stream a lot, but it's like they should not be staying where they are. They need to get to Canada or, out of the country where no one, like, I don't know. Maybe that's just my instincts. I'm like, wait, the cops are investigating for murder? I'm out of here. I'm going to Canada. No, just kidding. That's not a situation. I swear. I don't live on an island in Alaska for any nefarious purposes. No. Yeah, I don't know. It could be something. They could be getting more into the investigation, and perhaps Joel McHale is part of that. But I don't really see that. I just don't want to see Joel McHale and Hilary Swank being like buddy cops, like doing a thing. Like I'm not really into that at all. Hilary Swank being a cop who's like investigating a Fed or something. But I feel like Joel McHale needs to have somewhat of like a funny, like, kind of role. That's what I'm hoping from him, Okay. Let me see. So if they're waiting on the Cabin Daddy episode to finish the series if it gets canceled. So the Cabin Daddy special was something that is made. It's already done, and we were told in season 2 that they were going to release it between seasons 2 and 3. But in a recent interview, probably within the last couple of weeks, Ashley Lyle said they're not going to release it. They're going to hold on to it for now. So I don't know. That's a good question. Hopefully, like, if they canceled it and then we, hopefully that would be a great, like, additional piece of lore for us to have. It'd be a lot to wrap up in season 3. So I really hope that's not the case. Yeah. I don't know. It's a good question. Maybe it's just relevance to the storyline. Maybe maybe they want to wait based on like how they're developing the storyline. Best case scenario. Okay. Let's see. Shauna without, what does it say? Shauna without tweezers to tease us and explain her daughter's eyebrows. I like Callie's eyebrows. I think they're powerful. They're so French. Sarah Desjardins. Okay. Did you watch Animal Control? I didn't actually watch Animal Control. It takes place in Seattle, huh? I should watch it. Animal Control in Seattle. All right. Better than Animal Control in the town I live in, though. That's another story for another day. That's terrifying, actually. Okay. The actor who played Adam seemed very white to me, maybe French at the most. I don't know. He had this like some swarthiness to him. I don't know. Yeah, he gets eaten by the girls as a hiker, like those Police Squad opening credits where the guest star dies instantly. That's exactly, like, that's what I would hope. Like, I'm sorry, but I just think that would be perfect because we've been like hyping it up. We're so excited. And I just don't know what sort of, I mean, they're the writers, so they're going to know best, but like, I don't know what sort of, like, how to work in a new male character, like, as like a main focal point in the way that he would require. And like, we should start doing more stuff like this in film, okay? I saw somebody tweet this the other day. They said, why aren't we doing, like, I say we bring back old, like the old TV format where it's like 22 episodes and we have like Christmas episodes and, special things. And I'm like, Yeah, we should totally have like a Christmas Yellowjackets episode, whether it's just like winter themed or whatever, but like wouldn't that just be fun? Like I miss that about old shows where you have those little niche episodes that you can sort of distinguish from the entire rest of the series, like in Friends when they go to the beach, That's what I always think. Or like Trailer Park Boys when they go to the woods in season 7. Does anyone else watch Trailer Park Boys or just me? Yes, I watch Trailer Park Boys and Beavis and Butthead. Okay, I'm a very smart person. Okay. It's the balance to the cannibalistic soccer team girls, got to have some Beavis and Butthead in there. Okay. I see Joel McHale with a stack of anus books on a book tour while investigating Adam's death. That would be very Joel McHale. Okay, I'll give you that. That would work. Okay. Let's see. Mandy, I have not heard this, but I'll put it out there just in case. Mandy heard there was a 2-episode premiere. I have not heard that, but it's entirely possible. The season 3 premiere episode is on a Friday, and I believe that's for, well, I guess we should distinguish this since apparently they have a very active cable TV audience. So the premiere, the Yellowjackets premiere, is on Friday, February 14th for streaming people on the streaming platform. But otherwise, I believe the premiere will be on Sunday, as is usual on cable for them. And so Mandy and I, we are going to wait until the Monday after the premiere, and we'll just do our normal Monday morning murder podcast the Monday after the premiere. And hopefully that weekend will give me an opportunity to maybe like write some stuff up or work on a video or something like that. Okay. Is Misty's boyfriend going to be questioned? Walter? Walter Tattersall is his name. Played by the incomparable Elijah Wood. I do love Elijah Wood so much, honestly. Like I cannot overemphasize how much I love Walter Tattersall. Please do not kill him off. So well, I will say one thing that Walter is doing in the trailer is he is exercising his right as an American to wear a red hat. And so he looks like he's, what it was giving me vibes of, he looked like he was trying to pretend he worked at like a movie theater. Was like what went through my mind when in that very like half a second clip of Walter. I'm like, what is he doing as a movie theater employee or something? Like that's just what I saw. I don't know what's going to go on with him. I do still believe that Walter knows a lot more than we think he knows. But he seems to have Misty's back. So like, and again, going back to like this idea that maybe Misty will believe that she is entitled to being the queen now because she eliminated Natalie, who was their former queen. Maybe Walter will work with her on that. Now, as far as like, I mean, Walter's like purpose or his goals or what have you, his motivations is still a little unclear and a little up in the air. Like people aren't exactly like he's still a little mysterious. He knows a lot about them. He could be considered a Yellowjackets obsessive, but he seems like just super down, for Misty. And so I don't know like what his ultimate purpose is, but also he kind of is giving me vibes of like that the wealthy benefactor, the Magus. Okay, so like the Magus book that Misty reads and Coach Ben reads is, and then of course Great Expectations, Walt Havisham. So in Great Expectations, there's a wealthy benefactor. When in the Magus, there's a wealthy benefactor. And these wealthy benefactors in both of those stories are pulling the strings and sort of creating a stage for these unwilling actors to perform for them on, if that makes sense. So they're setting situations up to see how things play out. And as like kind of wealthy psychopathic people, they do this and they um create these situations. And so with Walter knowing as much as he does, there's kind of this question of like, is and we know Walter is a wealthy like individual. He had the thing drop on him and he sued, he has a metal plate in his head, he sued whoever, and he has a bunch of money. So, and then he also has like this background of like a grandmother who murdered his grandfather or something like that. So there's just kind of these things with him where it's like, is Walter maybe pulling the strings? Maybe is Walter the one, did he send the postcards? I guess we kind of, I mean, we mostly verified that it was Jeff who sent the postcards, but to be perfectly honest, that's not 100%. Like, we're not 100% sure that it was Jeff. So Walter could be a mastermind pulling the strings and setting these situations up. And, he did say to Misty on his boat, which is called Great Expectations, he told her that he's just a bored Moriarty looking for his Sherlock. So, and Moriarty and Sherlock are enemies. That's like his arch nemesis. So, is he playing games? I don't know. But I like Walter and I don't want to see him go villain. I want to see him be wonderful. Okay. Um Oh, okay, so you've heard this as well, Wild Marjoram. Okay, so this may be a thing. I'll try and verify it, but we have multiple people saying that there are 2 episodes in the premiere. I don't even want that. I want one and then space it out. I don't need 2 episodes. But maybe. They better be good. I don't have 2 episodes. Ah! Okay. Okay. Is Walter in disguise in the trailer? Yeah, he looked like a movie theater employee. Hold on. I'll pull up the picture. Maybe I'm like being silly. Highly unlikely. Okay. Walter, where are you? Okay. Okay. So maybe not a movie theater, but like, okay, we have this sort of like, what is this? Maybe an elevator? We have this fancy kind of table going on. Okay, what's his name tag say? Definitely cannot see that at all. Okay, well, and his hat says something like Giga something. Get or Bigs Bigs something. I thought it said Giga. Anyways, yeah, I don't know what he's doing. He's doing something. He's pretending he's like maybe he's pretending to be a doorman. Maybe he's pretending to be a flower delivery guy. I don't know. I'm just saying things. Your guess is as good as mine. Okay, let's see. All right. So I just remember that Walter could be a villain for the reason he said he's Moriarty finding his Sherlock. Exactly. Okay. Will Nat have a funeral? Yes, it looks like it. There was a promo photo that appears to be Natalie's funeral. I mean, we could be wrong about that, but it looks like it. You know who they should include is that one lady that works at the bank. I wonder if she would be at Natalie's funeral. Wouldn't that be interesting? Okay. Let me get back over here. I guess 2 episodes would be a reaction to the cabin fire, and the next would be the time skip. Yeah, so they have talked about there will be a time jump in both timelines. And I'm a little bit confused as to how that's gonna play out as far as the adult timeline goes, especially because if Natalie's gonna have a funeral, wouldn't we think that that would take place, like, pretty shortly after the events of season 2? But I could be totally wrong. Um, I don't know. It's interesting. Um, I don't I yeah. As far as the teen timeline, they are definitely doing a time jump because we're going from kind of the end of winter into like what appears to be summer. Uh which, I'm torn on how I feel about that because I think it would be so interesting to see how the teens survive, like how they react to the cabin fire and how they like pick up the pieces and figure out getting themselves a new shelter because it is still winter when the cabin fire happens. I mean, it's the dead of winter. It's not, they just barely were able to open the doors, after being snowed in there for so many days. So, like, it would be a very trying situation. And I also wonder if they wouldn't like maybe some people wouldn't die in that, like in the from exposure from having a lack of shelter that they're trying to figure it out so quickly. The thought crossed my mind. I remember actually having I had a dream after the finale of season 2, I remember, and it was totally like Donner Party themed because there's this story that came out of the Donner Party when they finally found them and rescued the people. They had a similar situation. Like, they didn't have shelter. They built some kind of ramshackle, like, little cabins and that kind of thing, but, like, they literally got caught in a snowstorm in the middle of the forest. They didn't have any, any shelter or anything like that other than what they could build for themselves. So there are these stories of them actually making snow burrows in the snow, in the ground. So when the guys came to rescue them, for some reason this story just stuck in my head, and I swear I had like a Yellowjackets themed dream about it. Of they said that when they found them, there were like these emaciated, like dirty, just like disheveled, skinny people climbing out of holes in the snow, their little snow burrows like zombies. And for some reason that just like stuck out in my mind. And after the season 2 finale, I was like, oh my God, that's going to happen to the Yellow Jackets. They're going to be like in these snow burrows and all like just, yeah, they have nothing. So, um, I would think that would be like kind of an interesting storyline to cover, but I guess we're doing a time jump. We're going into spring and summer, so we're going to see how what they came up with, and which appears to be like some tents or like kind of tent cabin situations. So yes, Lottie is showing the interest she showed in Shauna's first baby. Yeah, to Callie. Absolutely. I think that she's going to be highly interested in Callie, and Shauna is not gonna like it. Um, so Walter and Misty busting Lottie out, maybe. I feel like Van might be Van and Ty were a little more like, especially Van. And, depending on what happens with Van, like, we know she had cancer, and then, there's this idea that they, made a sacrifice to the wilderness. And Lottie said at the end, she said, the wilderness is pleased with our sacrifice. You'll see. And then she like says that directly to Van, and Van is like, what the heck? And so it would be really interesting to see if Van's cancer has like gone into remission or something like that. As like a byproduct of this. And so maybe Lottie is correct. Maybe she is prophesizing. Yeah, anyways. The wilderness's desires, as she always has. And she went through that period of time where she said, I can't hear it. And this was like going back in season 2 after Shauna beat the hell out of her. And she says, I can't hear it anymore. Is that finally coming back to her? As an adult, like, is she finally able to connect with that again? Should be really interesting to see. I don't know if Lottie's gonna be busted out per se, though. I feel like she is gonna mentally dominate all the people, like the doctors and stuff. Like something's weird happening there where she, like, I don't know. I just feel like they're gonna be like, yeah, you're good to go, and just let her out, you know? Okay. Is Shauna, this is the ultimate question of Yellow Jackets. Is Shauna pregnant by Adam? You know my answer. You know my answer. You let that guy come inside your house? Shauna, what are you thinking? Okay. Susan. Who's Susan? Why am I not? Who's Susan? Who's Susan? Am I having a brain fart? I don't know. Anyways, Allie, I don't know if we'll see Allie. Good question. Um, if we didn't see Allie again, I'm not gonna cry. But she was a funny character. Okay. Let's see. Will Adam's case be reopened? Yes. Or I think it's just still open. Um, oh, Susan is the bank lady. Okay, that's okay. Yeah, that's what I was saying. It would be cool if they included her in the funeral. It would be interesting to see her at the funeral. And oh, wouldn't it be interesting actually? Let's just put a cherry on this. Susan comes to the funeral and fashionably late, Lottie comes to the funeral. And because Susan's infamous line that we know, who the F is Lottie Matthews? Wouldn't it be fun for her to meet her? Okay. All right. Well, I think that's about it. I think we've got it mostly hashed out here. Um, maybe Mandy and I will do a live stream together here before the stream, a pre-season stream, just for fun and to do a little more speculating. So, we should have another trailer coming out soon. Oh, I did want to show you guys this. Actually, this photo, I have it saved. That was just a where are my bookmarks? That seemed like accompanying to that shot of Shauna in the in the promo shot. I'm just talking. In the promo shot where she's wearing her flannel and she's pulling the knife out from behind her back. I just wanted to show you guys this because I really think it's probably whoops uh the same scene. And also, this is like the Stanley Kubrick stare that Sophie Nélisse has mastered here. So we see this where she's like, there we go. You know the Kubrick stare, right? Like The Shining and all, this is like a masterful, like it's a technique. So, anyways, I just thought that was really great because it looked like it's the same scene as the scene where she's pulling the knife out from behind her back. And then we have a secondary like shot where it looks like the knife is being stabbed into what appears to be maybe like burnt, like charred cabin, charred wood or something like that. The knife is stabbed in and it's, got blood on the blade. So we might have sort of all of these shots being in the same scene. And we know Shauna is unstable, if nothing else. So it's gonna be really interesting to see how this plays out. As far as Shauna goes and like kind of the factions and disagreeing with Natalie. And then if they go off on their own, and I'm just so excited. There's just so much. Like we're speculating on so much, and I could be completely wrong, but I am so ready to see season 3. We are 1 month out. So we're almost there. So thank you guys so much for watching. If make sure and hit the like button if you enjoyed this stream. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and ring the notification bell so that you are prepared when the season starts. We're going to start streaming for the Monday Morning Murder podcast. We do this about Well, let's see. Knowing my time, so I'm Alaska time. So 9:30 my time, which is I think 1:30 Eastern time. I believe there's a 4-hour difference. So it's not exactly Monday morning over there on the East Coast, but you know what it is for me, and that's all that I care about. But so yeah, so Monday mornings about 9:30, 10:30, 11:30, wherever you are. And we'll be discussing each of the new episodes and theorizing. And of course, I'll be dropping new videos and theories along the way, along the season. I'm so excited to share all my thoughts and ideas and just get back into the wilderness, get back into the vibe. I literally am just so ready. I am just so ready to go full force into Yellowjacket season. I'm feeling it right now. And I took a long break after House of the Dragon. I covered season 2 of House of the Dragon up until the last episode, which I never even did the season 2 finale. Like, I just was very disappointed in that. So I just said, you know what? I'm taking a break after this, and I just haven't really done much at all on my channel. So I appreciate all of you guys, especially to my patrons and my channel members, for helping to support the channel while I just kind of went radio dark for a couple months. But I'm getting back into it, getting more videos out to you guys. And so just definitely keep an eye out for that. And if you are a person who uses Rumble, definitely find me on Rumble, rumble.com/Fayfire or user/Fayfire, something like that. I have my link tree linked in the description here. So you can find me on Rumble. You can find me on X and my Patreon and all of those kind of things. I'm trying really hard to build my channel over on Rumble. So definitely, if you're on that, or if you're not, download Rumble and subscribe to the channel. And I'm putting out all of my regular videos and that kind of thing over there, but it's just like a nice secondary platform. It's very almost the exact same as YouTube. So if you haven't used it before, it's just like, if you're kind of wanting to move away from like the Google, YouTube, like all of that, like mainstream kind of algorithm that's been going on, that's just an alternative place for you to check out. And it has a lot of like the same creators you're used to. So all right. Well, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. And I will try to not be a stranger, Wild Marjoram. I know. I've been so ready to get back to streaming. I was just kind of waiting a little bit to get a little bit closer to the season. And I don't think I'll be able to hold back for too much longer as far as streaming. So Mandy and I will get organized. We'll do a stream. But otherwise we'll get back to the Monday Morning Murder podcast starting on February 17th. So no, I did not watch From. A lot of people asked me to cover From. I just was not really feeling it, not that into it. I am planning to cover Yellowjackets season 3, the Pendragon cycle, which should be coming out this year. It was supposed to come out last year. I don't know what's going on with the Pendragon cycle, but whenever the Pendragon cycle comes out, I'm covering that. I will probably also be covering A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, the Dunk and Egg new series that's coming out later this year. I think it comes out in fall. So those are the things I will be covering this year, unless something else amazing pops up and steals my attention. Yeah, so that's about that. Thank you guys. Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching, and we will see you back in a couple weeks for season 3 of Yellowjackets. Woohoo! Buzz, 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 and Jackie out.